Hey folks, today's episode is brought to you by CarParts.com. CarParts.com is the smarter way to shop for auto parts. Their fast, mobile-friendly experience makes it easy to shop for the parts you need when you need them. Just enter the year, make, and model of your vehicle, start shopping, and start saving. It's that simple.
Yeah, it was really easy. I needed a couple of things for my car, power steering lines, cup holder, quite the spectrum in terms of parts. And I was able to use their parts finder, find the things that fit my car. They went on really easily. The fitment was perfect. They looked really good, and they ship out really, really quickly.
All right. CarParts.com stocks their own inventory, cutting out the middleman and passing the savings on to you. Whether you've been in a collision, whether you're working on your project car, or whether you just need to catch up on maintenance, visit CarParts.com/thesmokingtire for 10% off $100 or more on select brands. That's CarParts.com/thesmokingtire for 10% off $100 or more on select brands. Get the right parts right now at CarParts.com/thesmokingtire. We're also brought to you today by BlackVue and their all-new DR900X Plus Series dash cams. You've heard us talk about the 750 series. Now we're on to the 900X Plus Series. These BlackVue dash cams are very high quality, and they give me the reassurance that my car is always protected, whether I'm driving or parked. With the BlackVue DR900X Plus models, new and improved 4K ultra-high resolution front camera and newer Sony Starvis sensor in the rear camera, you can be sure that you will capture all the important details around your car, both during the day and at night. As a screenless, compact camera that hides behind your rearview mirror, the BlackVue is managed from the BlackVue mobile app. With BlackVue seamless pairing, connecting with the app is a breeze. No need to enter pesky passwords anymore. Just wave your hand near the camera to confirm it's you, and the app will let you browse recorded videos, change settings, or connect your dash cam to the cloud effortlessly. When you're away from your car, we've got built-in voltage monitoring, so you can leave your car protected by BlackVue's parking mode without fear of draining your car's battery. And thanks to the optional LTE connectivity module, the BlackVue DR900X Plus Series dashcam keeps you always connected to your car from anywhere. This means you can receive impact notifications on your phone, check on your car with a remote live view feed, and rest easy knowing that the live event upload saves impact footage in real time to the cloud, including the all-important 5-second pre-impact buffer. The new mobile hotspot function allows you to turn your LTE-connected dashcam into a Wi-Fi hotspot for up to 5 devices. And the DR900X Plus Series model comes with an optional rear camera, which you can get now or add later on. So go to BlackVue.com, that's BlackVue, BlackVue.com/TST, and use promo code TIRE to get 10% off any BlackVue dashcam. That's BlackVue, BlackVue.com/TST, and use promo code TIRE to get 10% off any BlackVue dashcam and free shipping for orders over $200. We're also brought to you today by Valvoline, the original motor oil. Rather than reading about the dual defense additive technology, I'll just tell you about the NASCAR race we attended at the LA Coliseum yesterday, thanks to our friends at Valvoline, getting to show us what their motor oils do in the context of racing. And Valvoline sponsored 3 cars in that races, all of which finished in the top 10. 2 of them finished in the top 5. Kyle Larson finished in the top 5, and William Byron finished in the top 5 at the LA Coliseum. And man, that was some really, really cool racing. We got to go behind the scenes with the engineers who analyzed the oil, with some of the racing drivers, and see some really excellent racing at the LA Coliseum right in our backyard, up close. Valvoline is the only motor oil with a dedicated engine lab where they can run specialized engine tests and standardized engine tests right in their own facility. I met the guy who's in charge of testing all of the oil. They test after every dyno, they test after every practice session, they test after qualifying, and they test it after the race. And they've run over 5,000 oil sample tests in the last 2 years, and they're able to accurately, they have a predictive model of the life of their racing engines based on the results of those oil tests. It's very, very cool. Valvoline is proud to be the official motor oil of Hendrick Motorsports, who we attended the race with yesterday. And Kyle Larson was crowned the 2021 NASCAR Cup Series champion with 9 wins and 2,000 laps led. Go to your local auto parts store, ask for Valvoline full synthetic extended protection by name. And thank you to Valvoline for sponsoring today's show and for bringing us to the Clash at the Coliseum yesterday. It was super, super fun. Last but certainly not least, we are sponsored by Squarespace. Whether you are making a new website for yourself, for your business, for your family, for your connected social media accounts, to sell something on e-commerce, Squarespace has you covered. They are the easiest, most efficient, all-in-one platform to build a beautiful online presence and run your business, promote yourself, show your resume, your portfolio, whatever it is. The Smoking Tire website, that runs on Squarespace. My West Side Collector Car Storage business website, that runs on Squarespace. And I was able to make both of those websites myself, and I am stupid. I know a few things about cars, and I know nothing about web design, but the tools within Squarespace really allow me to make this website easily and very efficiently. Whether if you want to run e-commerce, no problem. They've got a module for that. If you want to do comedy or entertainment, podcasting, they've got modules for that. You want to embed videos? They've got modules for that. You want to have 4 or 5 different people contributing to a blog? No problem. They can do that. You want analytics and stats? Boom! Built into Squarespace. You don't need to know how to code. You don't need to know what all those weird HTML stuff means. All you have to do is put little content blocks on the page where you want them. It's as easy as drag and drop and typing in words. It's very, very straightforward.
Pop quiz, which direction does the slash go, Matt?
/
Doesn't matter with Squarespace.
That I know. Squarespace is easy. It's very straightforward, and you have no excuse for not having the right website for your business when Squarespace is out there. So check out squarespace.com/tire. For 10% off your purchase of a website or domain. Oh yeah, did I mention that you can buy your website or domain through Squarespace? So you used to have to go to a domain purchasing place and then go somewhere like Squarespace to make the website itself. Now you can do it all in one. So check out squarespace.com for a free trial, and then when you're ready to get going, go to squarespace.com/tire to save 10% off your purchase of a website or domain with Squarespace. All right, folks, Jonny Lieberman is back in studio. We take a roundy round the car universe on this one. We start with Barrett-Jackson, some of the recent sales at this year's Barrett-Jackson that Jonny managed to attend without getting COVID. We talk about the fact that he's racing in this year's Pikes Peak Hill Climb. It is the 100th anniversary of the Pikes Peak Hill Climb. Jonny's new podcast, The InEVitable, that is theoretically about the future of cars, but really just seems like a celebrity interview show. We talk about watches. We talk about if cars are being ruined by tech and by emissions controls, and a whole lot more, including a reveal of the car I bought and haven't talked about yet. Jonny Lieberman's here on the Smoking Tire Podcast. So I was like, hey, all right.
I had lunch with
time.
I had lunch with Sang.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, Farrah's such an amateur. He's like, he sold an AP to get a Daytona.
You know, I've heard that. That's, that is partially,
Sang has money falling out of his eyes.
If I was a slightly more savvier investor, then that the AP is probably a better investment than the Daytona, but
I don't think so.
for a steel, it could also be on trend right now and could come off trend, whereas Daytonas are forever. But for one, I actually didn't like wearing it that much.
That's all that matters.
Which was really what matters.
Yeah.
I didn't like wearing it for as much as it cost. I didn't like wearing it as much as I should.
But you fell out of love with it, right?
Yeah, I loved it for like 6 months, and then I was like,
I have an IWC. I'm going through the same thing where I put it on. I'm like, I feel nothing.
yeah. And for something that's that much, and also I have been for the last 2 years like obsessed with Tahitian mother of pearl.
Yeah.
And so whatever.
Well, Sang's telling me this, and then I'm looking at his Panda, and I'm like, "What'd you pay for that?" He's like, 13. You know, and he's like, I didn't even want it. Like the shop called me in 2015. They're like, will you buy this, please? We'll give it to you for like $1,000 off. And he bought, it's a beautiful Daytona.
7.
At the time, I think he only got one of them, but we were looking up. You know what a Panda goes for? Like as of like 2 weeks ago, 57.
Yeah.
No, it's insane. It's a steel watch.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's a steel watch.
People can't get shit. People just can't get shit, and but that makes me want to buy Seikos. Like it makes me go, wow, this custom Seiko for $570 is a fucking hell of a deal.
Yeah, yeah. It's just obnoxious that a Daytona steel.
Dude, I was looking at someone bought a 308 yesterday.
Oh, don't even tell me.
For $90,000, $95,000, and it was like not a great one.
I mean, should I save it for the show?
This is the show. You're in the show.
Oh, we're
in the show.
recording.
You're successful.
All right, I was at Barrett-Jackson.
Oh yeah,
I saw
just go right into that.
I saw 3 Chevelles. Mm-hmm. Chevelles. You know what a Chevelle is?
I'm familiar.
Okay. 3 within a 5-minute window that went for over $300,000. 3.
Have we eclipsed the muscle car ridiculousnness of 2008?
I'm sitting there going like, what is good about a Chevelle in any way? And you know what it is? It's one of those things, right? We're sitting here, we're talking about Daytonas and like watch collectors Daytonas means it must be to a certain type of hot roddy car guy. The 1970 Chevelle matters.
I mean, it's a good looking car.
It's at 30,000.
Yeah, I agree. I don't. There's no Chevelle I would look at and go, yeah, it's 300.
So they had a Chevelle go for like 305, 310. Then an L88 Corvette, which is like the only more special Corvette in history is the Grand Sport.
Yeah.
No one's buying it. Craig Jackson, who's no dummy, plays one on TV, but no dummy, he buys it. You know what I mean? He's like, I'm buying it.
I always wonder if he buys it to make the auction house look better, or if he really wants that kind of stuff for his collection.
There was a bid on it. It was just low.
Yeah.
And so he just made the next bid and no one outbid him. I don't even know what they're worth, but like, I think it went for $300,000. But that's
low for an L88 Corvette.
Yeah, I think so. I think I don't know. I'm not an expert on that, but like they made, I forget, 70 of them.
Yeah.
And it's like the greatest muscle car story in the world.
Isn't that like the aluminum engine, crazy batshit motor?
Actually 560 horsepower.
Yeah.
Wasn't advertised. You had to like basically know someone at GM who like, gave you the elbow, like, check the L88 box.
Yeah.
And it was like a cheap option, but it was this race engine.
Yeah.
And and then another Chevelle rolls, 325. It was and they're all on the worst wheels like humanly imaginable.
Yeah, what don't we know? What are we missing? Are we missing something?
It's a cultural thing, It's just like, in my world, like I understand paying $100,000 over for a GT3 is a lot of money, but a $300,000 GT3, like Sang had one at lunch, and he paid a bout sticker. Damn, that's a fine car. You know what I mean? And so in the culture I run around in, you got to pay $100 over. That's what they cost, and I guess like that's what Chevelles cost.
I guess, but
I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
Like Magnus has that thing where he's like, stop for a second, take yourself out of it. Is it a $300,000 driving experience? And the answer is like absolutely fucking no way.
Yeah.
Is any Chevelle worth more than $30,000? I'm sorry, not to diss on Chevelles.
I drove a Charger, 70 Charger once. There was a full Pro Touring build by a full, by a shop that really knows their shit.
Yeah,
and
that's a Charger though. It's kind of sporty. A Chevelle is a mom's car. Yeah,
yeah, and I didn't see I know what someone paid. They told me what this person paid for it, and it was 7 figures.
Okay. Whoa.
It was
really?
crazy. Yeah, it was crazy. It had a Hellcat motor. It had all this crazy.
7?
7 figures.
For a, yeah.
I mean, and this was a couple years ago, and it was a ground-up restoration, everything, the whole deal. But to drive it, you go, well, this feels like $100,000.
Yeah, yeah. I was going to say,
and that was as built gets.
I was going to say, like, back in, I don't know, it was 2008, I drove a Hotchkiss, had this Challenger.
I remember the yellow car.
Yellow one.
Yeah.
Great. It had rails, it was stiff, the steering worked. And, like, at the time, it was, I don't know, 70, 80,000 or something like that. And it was like, okay. And it was really fun, but I couldn't imagine that much more. And by the way, any 911 will, like, decimate it in terms of going, stopping, turning, quality, comfort, you know. And like, I guess, yeah, you have a rumbly V8, but lots of cars have rumbly V8s.
Yeah.
You know, so I just it's lost on me.
No, to me, a Chevelle especially is just like pure middle of the road. No, like if not like a GTO Judge,
no,
like
no, a
Road
Chevelle. I
Runner,
mean, you know, they had the big. One of them was like a 560, but like I've driven cars with 560s. Like it's a big V8. You know? And I'm like, what's nostalgic about it? You know, like.
Well, I mean, I could see what's nostalgic about it for some people. That was their fucking high school shit.
Well, I had my first successful date rape in that car. I mean, like, what I don't get, like, you know what I mean? Like,
what?
Like, what?
All right, beyond Chevelles, though, what else stood out at Barrett-Jackson?
I wasn't there that long. So here, what happened was I was on this.
Congratulations on not getting COVID.
Oh,
at
my
least
God.
I hope you didn't get COVID.
I mean, I tested negative twice. Misha was with me. Misha and I were looking at each other. We're like, we just caught COVID.
Yeah.
Because it was. So, you know, I've worked that show. I've actually been on stage with Magnante, like 12-hour shift, like, you know, doing the live broadcast, which is crazy. So I was like, and Misha and I had these passes and get us anywhere. And I'm like, let's just go on the stage. That's like, because, you know, it's like a basketball-sized arena.
Yeah.
I'm like, if we just go stand on stage, if we stand to the left, kind of where that guy Rick DeBrule sits, just stand below his booth. It'll be fine. There's no one around. And, like, you know, it's a huge auditorium or tent or whatever it is. So we're there and, you know, we're watching, it's fine. And then, like, just 20 drunks, like, just find us. And like, the security's telling them to leave, and they're like, fuck, we're bidding, man, fuck you, we're staying, you know. And one guy's, like, talking to me, because I was, like, every car that came by, I'm like, you know, pointing at the wheels, like, trash, you know, because there's a real disease in this country, and it's wheels at Barrett-Jackson auctions. And then, like, a cop, he hears me, and he's like, you're on Spike's Car Radio. I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh, you and Zucker are my favorites. And so I'm talking to a Phoenix cop, Gary, very nice guy. But I'm like, this guy has more COVID than anyone on earth. A cop in Phoenix. You know what I mean? Like, and I looked at Misha. We're like, we got it. You know. And but we both tested negative. So
well, tomorrow's a new day.
This was no, but I had 2 days.
How many
in a row.
days ago was this?
This was Saturday.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
we're all getting COVID.
You're all dead.
We're all dying. We're all fucking dying.
Yeah,
I love the sideshow at Barrett-Jackson where you can buy hot tubs, and
metal palm tree,
fan boats, metal palm trees.
And you know, Jackson gets 25% of every item sold, including like hot dogs.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, exactly. Think about
what
it.
What a racket that thing
is.
Woo. It is. And you see anything really good? I saw. No, not really.
We didn't look down. I mean, I saw some cool shit. You know, what I think is cool. I saw like a first gen Viper that I thought was rad.
Yeah.
We saw like a 79 green and orange Toyota pickup truck, like original paint. That was, you know, I mean, there was some cool stuff. There was nothing.
Can you pull up the top sellers, Zach? And let's see what the
God. Well, that Z06 went for $3.6 million.
Yeah,
charity.
I wish you could filter out the charity from the top sellers.
Yeah, well,
you might have to Google it at a different website. Barrett-Jackson's actual website stinks. Their website was made on GeoCities in 1997. It was not good.
They're speaking to their audience, you know.
Yeah, I've tried to navigate their site before. It's not good.
It was wild though. I mean, it was like Bronco after Bronco, K5 Blazer. They're all over 200, and I'm sitting there going like, you could get an Icon Bronco that's actually killer in every way for 150, or you can get this like SEMA disaster project for 225.
Right.
On like wheels that couldn't go off road if they wanted to.
All right, top sellers. This is Friday and Saturday. Let's get the slideshow going.
Okay.
458 Spider.
Oh,
sold for
you can see me in that photo.
253,000.
Yeah.
76 Porsche 930 Turbo. 264,000. Okay.
We're gonna get to the Chevelles.
Here's a Camaro.
Yeah, we saw
custom,
this. This was unbelievable.
275.
Yeah. Oh, just keep going.
Shelby GT350 convertible. 275.
I'm like on the very right of this photo. I think you can see me.
Okay. 67 Eleanor Fastback Tribute 275.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is right when we're on stage. Yeah.
Willie's Jeep Custom 275. Wow.
Didn't see that.
Everything's 275.
Lincoln Continental Custom convertible 300 grand for a Conti.
Didn't see that. And
64
look at the wheels.
Conti.
Look at the wheels.
The wheels were terrible. Oh my God! 2022 Corvette Stingray convertible
IMSA
GTLM Championship Edition.
I wonder if this was a charity thing because didn't
It
a
must have been
Z06 sell there for like $3 million?
330,000.
Because that's a decal package.
That's
right?
that's a nothing. Eleanor Tribute,
yeah.
330,000.
Where's those Chevelles? I
There's a
swear these Chevelles happened.
Bel Air Custom. They might have been Sunday because this is Friday, Saturday.
Maybe it was No, it was Saturday.
Oh my God, Toyota Tundra.
That's
this is
charity,
a right?
charity.
TRD Pro VIN 002, 550,000.
Unless I'll text Misha. Unless I'm losing my mind, they were going for 300.
Well, was that Sunday? What day was it?
Saturday.
Oh. Ford Shelby GT500 KR. The VIN 1 for 700K. That's charity also.
It has to be. Oh yeah, but that's a Shelby America. That's not a Ford. That's from Vegas.
It's a KR. Yeah. Ford Mustang Custom Fastback, $1 million for a 68
Okay.
Ford.
Well, that thing sold 2 years ago when I was there. Yeah.
1.2.
Yeah.
Oh
hey,
boy.
Hey.
Cobra 427 CSX 330. Okay.
Hang on. I'm texting
1.2.
Misha.
2024 GT Carbon 1.3. 2017 Ford GT Heritage Edition 1.4. McLaren Senna for 1.5. Ford GTs 1.6.
That's crazy.
McLaren P1 for 1.7.
That makes sense.
Porsche 918 Spider for 1.8. Wow.
Yeah.
And then a 55 Gullwing for 1.8.
I can see that. There's money there.
Carrera GT 1.98.
Okay.
And then the Z06 VIN
Hang on.
001.
I'm going to text Misha. Can he call? Can you do phones on this wacky show of yours?
I mean,
all right. Dude, there was 3 Chevelles that sold for 300. I'm not making. Maybe I am making this up.
maybe you're making it
I
up.
believe it might not have hit the top 25 or
I
whatever.
swear they were over 300.
Well, that article seemed like it was.
It seemed very well put together.
It seemed well put together, but
All right, I'm texting right now. How many Chevelles? This is blowing my whole narrative here.
was there anything as other surrounding, not at Barrett-Jackson? Anything else in Scottsdale?
Oh my God, we saw all kinds of crazy stuff. First of all, I saw that roof, that carbon fiber roof CTR.
Oh, yeah.
Owned by one of the Walton kids, but
Of course.
yeah, but like
Pretty cool.
he had an Apple Core on the seat. But it was. We went to this ridiculous collection, this guy's house, where they literally had signs that said, "No, you can't take photos. Don't even ask." Right, and the cars were insane. He had a lime green D-Type next to a XK SS, like that sort of collection.
Yeah.
But the roof was
it
parked outside.
someone you would have heard of? Or
Nah,
was just-
John Breslow. He owned like a medical oxygen factory, and then a Chinese company bought it for billions. And
Okay.
yeah, good for him. Nice Jewish boy. But the roof was parked out front, and like we toured the museum. It was great, and it was, very nice cars. All be on the lawn at Pebble Beach, and then we're all just gathered around the roof, just like, and then. This guy gets in, and I'm like, whose car is this? And they're like, well, he owns 2 250 GTOs, and today he's worth $67 billion.
Wow.
Yeah, well, it's good if your dad's founded Walmart.
I guess it is.
Yeah.
The Walton's yacht was in Marina Del Rey last week. It's 290 feet or something. It's fucking
subtle.
Gigant.
So that was a highlight. This guy in his collection, though, he had a Tatra T87. I love those.
Oh.
They had a Chrysler Airflow, a DeSoto Airflow 34, which is really cool. He had like those. Remember those Alfa Romeo Zagato?
Oh yeah.
It was like the shooting brake, that weird looking one.
It's like a TZ
Zagato or something.
I think it's a TZ Zagato. Yeah.
It was new though. It's new. It's like
the new one.
TZR or something.
It was done out of an 8C, right?
No, yeah. They only made a few of them. It's like
Not
TZ3 Stradale. Try that. down.
TZ3
either way.
Stradale. Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
these.
Don't
Yeah,
have an
yeah,
AC.
yeah.
Yeah, they did a shooting brake
And
out of
it has a wacky the hatch open. So he had a blue one of those that was pretty sick. And he had like a Zagato Gallardo, a Zagato something
this is
else.
Dodge Viper base.
It's a V10. Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's a Viper.
It's a V10. Yeah, it's 8.4
wow.
liter V10. But that little
yeah,
piece
you
of
can-
glass pops up. It's pretty cool. Actually, I think the whole thing opens.
Wow, that's pretty
The taillights
crazy.
don't move. Yeah, it's one of those, like, I wrote a post about it 5 years ago and never thought about it since. But he had one.
Yeah. I wonder how many of those they made.
Like 20, I want to say.
Yeah,
He has
from
the
that
blue
angle, you
one.
can tell it's a Viper.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
June 14th, 2011.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
But it
So
was,
that must have been with the FCA when the FCA merger happened. They were like,
That's
"You
that's
get
about
to
right.
raid them."
Yeah. Look.
The side
Super
pipes,
Viper,
yeah.
side pipes and everything. Yeah.
Wow, it really is. That's very interesting.
Yeah, and again, there's I think 20 made. You'll never see them, and like this guy, the only because I was like, have I ever seen your cars? And he had a 1919 Pierce Arrow that was fabulous, and he's like, we did the tour with that last year, so I'll do one a year, and that car was the best one there. It was like just wild. If you're into brass era shit, it was cool.
Brass is wild. I don't have like a lot of the knowledge of it, but I love just like poking around the weird ass details of
because they
brass
always
stuff.
like invented like traction control. It was like they had a donkey that provided traction control, but they had it 100 years ago.
Like they had, what was the thing? They had this, I saw one that had like a scroll, like reel to reel, like map reader thing.
I haven't seen that, but there was a 1910 something, probably a Pierce Arrow. No, it was a Pierce. It was a Pierce. It had a disc that ran off the odometer.
Yeah.
And if you went to the courthouse in Philadelphia, it gave you turn-by-turn instructions to get to the courthouse in New York, or the mayor's house, or whatever it was. But like, you had to follow it exactly.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
there's no way to back it up. But
And if you veer even a foot off the trail.
But again,
it's like,
1910, turn by turn, and you had different discs. If you want to go from Philly to Detroit, you put in that disc.
yeah.
And like somebody,
the one I saw was like, it was like that, but
Yeah.
it was like a Taurus scroll.
yeah, right.
You had to load up the
And so
Taurus
I love that because they had like I don't know if you were at Pebble this year, but they had a electric car charger from 1904.
Oh no!
It was wild.
what
Oh,
are the-
it looked like it would electrocute you. I mean, it was like two giant like Frankenstein pull
Yeah,
switches. Everything's exposed. There's no rubber. It's just metal
It's
and
like
wood.
a fucking Tesla coil.
You're just gonna die. So, but it was cool to see.
Yeah.
So like everything's kind of happened. in a
Actually,
way.
what was I forget? What's the show they have in Pasadena?
Oh, the San Marino.
Yeah,
car
yeah.
show.
Yeah, that thing. There was two guys driving like laps around that park in the Baker Electrics. I'd never actually seen one like drive.
Yeah.
It was wild as fuck.
And those are like 1906 or
yeah,
something.
yeah.
It's wild. By the way, and I think we talked about
And
this
they've
last
got
time.
a tiller?
Yeah. That's the best kept car show secret there is because it's like, Pebble lawn quality cars,
Yeah.
but no one goes.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Oh, I love it,
You just
yeah.
show up and get in. It was great.
Yeah, you park on the street, like
Yeah.
right next to it.
I was shocked at the quality of cars at that thing.
High. Well, the money in San Marino, I mean, it's
There
like,
was like 12 gull wings.
and
next to each other.
by the way, like 10 of them you've never seen before. They
Well,
don't make the
two
rounds.
of them were the pre-gull wings, the
yeah,
Mercedes
yeah.
like race car
The
pre-gull wing.
W194s.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are killer.
Yeah.
I've driven one. Those are very cool.
Yeah,
Very
That
big.
was a bitchin' event.
Yeah, they're great every year. It's the best, and it's super diverse. They have every kind of car, and it's beautiful. Yeah, I love that show.
So I said I wasn't going to try this, but then I pulled out 2 glasses. I feel
Oh.
I feel like a little sip.
Well,
A
the
little
reason
sip.
I brought this one is because I know, especially this one over here, but I know how weak you guys are. But this is only 93 proof.
Okay, so we'll try
Right?
a
So
sip.
it's only 46% alcohol. So if you got Maker's Mark, I don't know what that is. But anyways, it's not it's
like
low in
a-
alcohol.
it's
not
it's
gasoline.
the kitty stuff?
Well, it's-
Okay.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
What is it? Old Scout?
It's Smooth Ambler Old Scout. It's one of their custom labels. I've had it for a while, but it's 9 years old. It's barrel number 919, and
Let's try
somebody named
try a little sip.
Bowell or something bottled it. They said their name.
Basil.
Basil bottled it. Bottled by Basil. So
I like the artwork on the back. It's
yeah,
nice.
a little freak show.
Yeah.
So, and also with these, if anyone's buying, I don't know if it means anything, but whenever there's red on a Smooth Ambler Old Scout label or cap, it tends to be a little quality-wise. I don't know why.
Really?
It's a theory I have. It's never
Someone
been-
knows something.
something. There's something good about it.
How interesting.
Yeah.
So what's happening with this Pikes Peak thing?
I'm racing Pikes Peak, Matt.
That's fucking crazy.
That's fucking sick.
Who'd you have to fucking blow for that?
Jeff Zwart approached me.
This motherfucker.
Yeah.
This motherfucker.
Yeah.
He was in my office 10 minutes ago.
Oh, yeah, he's here.
He just landed.
Yeah, well,
L'chaim.
L'chaim. Do you want some?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's try this.
This is all I'm going to have because I got to do cardio later tonight.
I got to go deal with Zuckerman and Spike, so if I
So you should
this
have
is
more.
Good. No, this is good. No, you got to be sober. It's a two-pronged attack from those assholes.
Oh. That's
good.
very nice.
That's good.
That is very
It's
nice.
almost like scotch almost.
It's
like,
fucking nice.
Oh, it's good.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Here we
No,
go.
Jeff came up to me up at Good Vibes, which is the Friday morning car show, and he was just like, "I like what you're up to. I like what you're doing. Have you ever thought about racing Pikes Peak?" And I didn't tell him at the time, but when this class started, so it's basically the Zwart class, the GT4 Club Sport. I had gone to somebody and said, "Hey, I'd really like to do that," and they were like, "You?" Pfft. Like, no, we have Travis Pastrana. Why would we, And it was kind of like, man. But then he was like, "I think you'd be excellent for it." And I was like, I would be so thrilled and so honored to do it. Like, absolutely. And
Who's paying for it?
well, I'm paying for it.
Oh.
Well, I shouldn't. I'm raising money.
Oh.
I'm raising a lot of money. I'm trying to raise a lot of money. And that's been going really well, actually. It's been a little tricky because people are like, "Show us your deck," and I'm like, "What's the deck?" You
Yeah,
know,
right.
But I'm slowly getting it figured out.
The photo you posted of the car, is it a Cayman sponsored by the Cayman Islands?
And that has to stay on there. Yeah, visit
That's
Cayman Islands. Yeah.
hilarious. Is that intentional? They're
I mean, look,
like, we want to put we want to put Cayman Islands on a Cayman. That's kind of funny.
Yeah, it is good. It is good. I don't know anything about all they said to me at PCMA was,
There it
at
is.
PMNA, they said that has to stay. Everything else comes off the car.
Okay.
So this car is the car that Tanner drove up Pikes Peak last year, and he won this class. And so what they did was the first year they had Pastrana, and he won. And then they had Tanner, and he won. And so there's guys that are paying money to do it, and they're like you keep bringing in these, they're big names, but they beat us no matter what,
Yeah.
And Pastrana set like a record that no one in that class could ever beat. So I think they want me because I'm not going to beat them, but I'm well known enough that
Sure.
the cameras can point at me and I can say things to microphones and all that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So, but I'm taking it very seriously. I'm going next week. I'm working on a simulator with that guy Michael. I think it's just Michael Johnson. He's a middle name. He was a Peckla instructor. He's got a cowboy Porsche hat from Texas. Good
I
guy.
don't, yeah.
But I'm going to start
They
working.
have a Pikes Peak sim.
Yeah,
They have
he's
the
got
road.
he's got on a sim, and then I'm going to go. Jamie Morrow.
Yes.
So I'm going to go to Miami, and he's like, we're going to do this very seriously. It's like 3 8-hour days on the simulator. And he's like, we're going to do a day of Laguna Seca because I know you know how to drive that, then 2 days on Pikes Peak, and it's going to be for real.
Why is the day in Laguna Seca going to help?
Because he's like, I want you to learn a simulator.
Oh,
Because I was like, I
right.
fucking hate Sims. He's like, you've never really been taught. You play like a video game. He's like, I'm going to teach you like a race car driver. In his British accent, he's saying this. But so apparently I'm doing 3 intense days on a simulator, which is kind of wacky. And then I think Zwart and Pat Long, we're going to get Streets of Willow, and the car's here.
Yeah.
And we're going to take it out there.
Those cars are super easy to drive. You ever had to go on one of them?
Never been in a club sport, but I've driven enough GT4s.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
like a GT4 with like more grip. Which
Yeah,
makes
and
it incredibly fucking easy to drive.
Yeah, and this is like, so that car makes, 425 horsepower at sea level.
Yeah.
So at 10,000 feet where you start, it's down to 3 whatever.
By the top, it's like 150.
Yeah. But it's also on street tires. It also has ABS. So I'm not worried, because everyone's like, you're going to die.
You run Pikes Peak on street tires.
In Jeff's class, you do. In this class, you
Oh,
do. No, the guys doing Time Attack and Unlimited, no, they're on full slicks. Yeah, Randy's going to be in that Plaid. He's on slicks, like absolutely.
Yeah.
But just excuse me. This is an amateur class, so it's just
Make life safer.
yeah, and it's fine. I'll be.
What's your plan for memorization?
practice sim, and this guy Michael's in Palos Verdes, so I'm gonna be able to go to his place. Misha has Pikes Peak on his simulator, so I could sit in. You're asking? I don't know.
It's probably on a Assetto Corsa. Someone probably made it. That's like the most like customizable one, I think.
I think so.
Yeah.
And then, so the race is June 26th, and I'm getting all this a little wrong, but Jeff is having a mandatory practice weekend for his class. It's 3 days. And then there's a weekend after is mandatory for all rookies that are doing the race. And it's about half rookies, so you have to do that.
Is that at the mountain?
At Pikes Peak.
Oh.
Yeah, so I'm going to be in June, or in Colorado basically the month of June. And then the race is the 26th, and I think you start practicing on either the 20th or the 21st. And you have 4 or 5 days of practice before the race up the mountain. And it's like 1:30 a.m. call time, and you're back in the hotel by 9 a.m. So...
How interesting.
But I'm taking it seriously.
Fun.
Yeah, I've been starting to. I have a little weird workout routine that's starting to work, and I'm gonna.
I mean, you have to take it seriously, right? It's like
You don't have to. You could totally just cruise up.
No, there's definitely people that fucking are just going to show up.
That seems like a
and
dangerous
drive.
idea.
I mean, they're going to do the requirements, but there's people that are not.
So
seriously,
I had so Justin Bell called me. I told this story. I was on late night playset last night. I told this story, but Justin called me. He's like, Johnny, I've driven Le Mans 12 times. I've raced Silverstone and Daytona. Pikes Peak's the most dangerous fucking thing I've ever done, you know. And my wife's listening, and he's like, it voids your life insurance. And he's freaking out.
Does it?
Apparently. But then Rob Holland called me, or texted me, and he's like, dude, I'm so stoked you're doing this. It's going to be great. And I'm like, yeah, I'm a little nervous. He's like, I've seen you drive Angeles Crest, dude. You're going to be fine. He's like, this is totally the race for you. So if Rob thinks that.
I feel like if you have like a lot of canyon experience and you're not literally going for like a record.
Oh, what record?
Then like you drive it's a canyon road, no one coming the other way.
Yeah, and you can use both lanes.
Yeah.
So it's like, and I kind of do Angeles Crest, I do a good 25-mile run every week, and I've been doing that for years.
Yeah.
Like, literally like decade or more. And Rob, when I was with him, he was in the new GT3 and I was in the M3 comp, and like, we were having a blast. And he's like, just drive it like you drove that. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
So
canyon road.
Yeah. And again, it's on street tires. So it's like, even if it's icy, if it's icy, you'll die.
But
I'll slow down.
It's not like you need to like learn the slicks, and the limits of that.
No, and there's
too.
no
It's
real
like,
aero or anything to worry about. Even the aero's good, just makes the back stick. But it'll be, and again, it'll be like 250 horsepower near the top. It has ABS, so you could stuff it and still steer.
Yeah,
So
and the club sports are PDK, so you don't even have to fucking deal with that.
And it's a Porsche. It's like it's a pretty good starting point.
Yeah,
and I've done 2 track days that I can remember in GT4s. I was fine.
They're so easy.
They're so easy.
They're so easy.
Yeah,
I've driven that car on 2 different racetracks: Streets of Willow and Texas World Speedway. That club sport, and it is easy as pie.
Yeah, I've done a regular GT4, or one was a Spider, but same thing. I guess I'm bragging if I tell the story, but I think I was the fastest car at the track day, and there was like 911s and GT3s and stuff there, and it was like, and I'm okay, but. So you can haul ass in those things.
Yeah.
And it's totally, it's fine. So I'll be all right.
Yeah. You need the aftermarket gear set for that.
No, it's PDK.
They have an aftermarket gear set
do they?
for
Well,
PDK
this one,
too, yeah.
And the other good thing about this car, this is the one Tanner drove last year, and he, they're like, do you want to put the stiff dampers on? He's like, nah, leave it stock.
Yeah.
And I like a little bit. I like, somewhere in the
bumpy,
middle.
You don't want it stiff, do you?
I don't want it
Pikes
super
Peak.
stiff. I like I have that 911 GTS out front. So like this morning I was going back and forth on the dampers. I'm like, I like it stiff. It was just handling better with the rear
Had you not
steering.
driven that yet, GTS?
No, I haven't driven GTS.
They're good.
Very impressive. Not a GT3. Everyone's like, is it just like a GT3 with a different motor? I'm like, no, it's not even related.
Not. No.
Yeah, it's
But
a turbo with a different motor. It's a Porsche Grand Sport.
Yeah, but for like 95% of drivers, it's more than enough vehicle.
Oh, yeah. No, it kicks ass.
If I wanted to daily drive a 911, I'd rather do it in that because it's a little more forgiving.
I don't know. I really like. I really like the new GT3. Like I really, really, really connect with that car. I'm like, that's my car. This is great though. It was great. But it's just, again, it's not on our compound tires.
Right.
So you feel that, especially with rear steer.
Yeah.
You really do feel like, oh, it's squishing around back there. So that's an easy fix. And I don't know.
It's not as darty to me.
Yeah.
I like it's easy. Like it's easier to just like on less than perfect roads, I can kind of drive with one hand more so. Like the GT3 is like 2 hands on the wheel kind of thing.
Yeah,
those
for sure.
Wide front tires, and it kind of pulls you around a little bit.
Yeah, and the front is actually weighted, unlike in regular 911 where you can't really turn until you touch the brakes a little bit. Like the GT3 will just start turning.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, hey, it's a real car.
Yeah.
But I dig this thing.
Is it stick?
No, PDK, which I again, I've had this conversation, but I prefer on non-GT3s, I prefer the automatic to the shitty, sloppy manual, personally.
I didn't think it was that shitty and sloppy because the GTS I drove had a optional short throw shifter,
Oh, okay.
which was, I thought, nice.
Last time I was in a Carrera S with a 7-speed, and I was on, I was going 113 in third gear, and I'm like, what's the point? Like, why are we bothering? Who are we kidding?
It's not. It's not as good as the GT3.
No, GT3 is an actual manual transmission, whereas the 7-speed manual is the PDK, and they just put a stick in it. So the gears
is
are,
it?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
I
the
didn't know
same
that.
gears as the 7-speed.
It's the same ratios.
Yeah.
but it's not an.
It's not a dual clutch.
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
I'm sorry, it's the same gear set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the Cayman, it's the same ratios whether you do either.
Yeah.
The 7th is just longer for highway, but the 2, 3, 4 are the same.
Right.
Which was frustrating.
Yeah. Although I think this new generation of Cayman, there's enough torque that it's not as bad as the last one was like silly. Like,
Yeah.
How did you release this type silly?
Well, or mine, which is going to have plus 100.
Well, that's one way to fix it. Or did you ever drive the Sharkworks one?
So yes, I did, and
that was
mine
bitchin'.
is also going to have an aftermarket gear set.
Okay.
So mine is going to have.
You got one. I didn't know.
Oh, you didn't know this?
No,
I have
no.
a Boxster Spider coming.
A new one?
Yeah, brand new. But it's going to have the demand
so much
engine
better
and
than the- really?
and the short gears. So it's 566 horsepower and 450 torque.
What brought this on?
Once I drove it,
Okay.
once I drove theirs, I was like, well, there's no going back from this. This is as good as cars get.
Well, it was funny. So we were doing. I was doing it was right when Jason quit and before we hired Jethro. So I was doing like I can't remember if it was a head-to-head or ignition, but I had Derek Powell. He was like the guest star, and he brought his GT4, and then I don't remember what the other one was, but it was a previous. It was a new one. It was a 718. And we were doing that, and we ran into Magnus and Alex from Sharkworks up there, and they let me drive like their GT4. And I'm like, Derek, throw your car away. Like, dude.
It's crazy, right?
It's just such a night and day difference.
Yeah. So the difference, the gear set makes an enormous
Huge
difference.
difference, yeah.
Alex's car, the Sharkworks car, because they wanted to see how it was, they did every gear.
Right.
Their gear set was completely re-geared, 1 through 6. With what Rick recommends and what I drove in his test car was changing 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. So 1st, 5th, and 6th are the same. So it makes a dramatic difference in how the car drives.
You'll never, even on Angeles Crest.
Well, when I went to, I had a gig in Sacramento, okay, and so I said, Alec, my wife was working at Facebook at the time. Sharkworks is right around the corner from Facebook.
Yep.
And so I said, hey, Alex, can I borrow your GT4 for this gig I've got? And he was like, yeah, fucking take it. So I drove an hour and a half up to Sacramento with his car with the 6th gear. This motherfucker was turning like 5,400 RPM on the highway.
Right.
I'm like, here's what we don't need. And he's like,
right.
yeah, I wanted to test the gear set, but I wouldn't recommend doing that on customer cars either.
Oh,
and
that's
then
hysterical.
the engine's a 4.5 liter.
Yeah.
So it's fucking.
So what's the company that's
Demand Motorsport.
Demand, okay.
They're in
Yeah,
New York.
yeah.
And they're
Awesome.
not. I'm not. It's like I love Alex and Sharkworks, and it's not.
No.
It's not a one versus the other thing.
I love how everyone thinks that. It's like,
Yeah, it's not.
Like,
it's
now
not
you
like
hate
that.
him. It's
No,
like,
it's not like that at all.
Totally.
But I went to drive the 4.5 GT4.
Yeah.
There's my video
Yeah.
for Haggerty.
Yeah.
And
I remember that video. Yeah.
and
yeah,
it was literally the best modern Porsche I've ever driven by a lot. And I was
Okay.
like, okay, we're getting this.
Well,
So-
I mean, my experience with punched out Porsches is the Sharkworks GT3.
Yeah.
where it's like I have a Z06 motor in my Porsche. Like there's torque coming out of everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like, I've never driven a Porsche with torque. It's awesome.
So that's what this
Okay,
is. Here's the
that's
dyno
cool.
sheet.
Yeah.
It's 565 horsepower and 438 torque.
Oh, bitchin'.
It's making 400 torque at just 3,000 RPM, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But that's bitching that you're getting the Spider because no one believes me, but like Spider is 10 times better than the Cayman GT4.
I don't know about 10 times, but look,
it's
look
so
where
much
we
more
live.
enjoyable.
It's
though.
delightful,
dude.
It's fucking delightful.
It's so much better because I don't know. I think I don't know what they're doing to the rear suspension, but for me, driving GT4 is like. If you never drive a 911, whatever, it's a great Porsche. But if you drive a 911, I find myself in Caymans like, front end's good, rear end sucks. Like, why is because it's just it like on a 911 you have really sophisticated rear suspension, and you have like I forget what it is, like just little coils or something on a Cayman. There's no room. The engine's right there. They have small suspension, and so the front end, is, on a GT4, it's off the GT3 or the old GT3. It's like yeah, and then you're the back of the car, so it's like bouncing around.
No, I hadn't really considered that, but I agree.
And again, we did this when we were doing last best driver's car.
We have lots of back-to-back experience.
Yeah, that's the thing. We had like a Turbo S and we had the GT4.
I remember this. This is when you took every Porsche press car at once.
Yes. We had all the Porsche press cars. We had more recently, actually. It's not out yet, but our performance vehicle of the year.
Oh, not performance car of the year. Performance vehicle of the year.
That's your magazine. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, that's coming out next week, I think. But I think we had every Porsche on the West Coast.
That's hilarious.
It was nuts. It was kind of nuts.
Yeah. Having driven both, I prefer the Spider.
Totally. Yeah. I felt that way since 16 when they both came out.
When they went to the 718 Spider, that was when I was like, oh, fuck me, this is the jam.
Yeah.
When it became the same from the doors down.
Yeah. But even the previous one, I went with Davey to Florence or somewhere in Italy, and we just, even though it had that goofy second gear, you can go 88 miles an hour, and in the top down, you're rolling through Florence, like you forgive everything, it's fine.
It's such a nice experience.
And so my point is like, the Cayman's still a little flawed, and it always will be because it's just not a 911. And, but you lower that top, and it's like, who cares? This is so good.
565 horsepower.
I got to check it out. Yeah, that's a lot of horsepower.
Fucking rowdy.
That's nuts.
Yeah, it's gonna be super rowdy. And
That's
I was gonna
awesome.
get a used one.
What color?
Frozen berry metallic.
Oh, nice. Good for you.
With white gold wheels, a red interior.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's subtle. No way, that's not subtle.
And I got illuminated red door sills that say "cuts hair fast." Because I'm
kills
dumb.
bugs fast. Yeah. Hey.
That's a Zwart homage.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's good.
Yeah. So it's
That's patient. When does it show up?
Lands at the dealer February 25th, and then 5 weeks at Rick's shop. And then probably a week with Larry. Larry's going to do... The dealer's in New Jersey, Town Motors.
Yeah.
Shout out to Town Motors. And
but when do you get it after Larry's done?
Larry's going to do the ammo reflex and do full paint protection film. He's going to make a video with that, and then it's going to get shipped out here. So probably like middle April.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Perfect
I ordered
timing.
it in August.
Yeah, I mean,
it was a long time.
It took me 10 months to get my Alpha. So.
Yeah.
But I ordered a Rivian.
Did you really?
I did.
Good
However,
for you.
Yeah, however,
cool.
However, you can't lease them.
You can't
lease them. And I wrote the guy, and I'm like, hey, why can't I?
Why not?
Yeah, he's like, not yet. And I go, well, how about when? Tell me when. He's like, well, I'm not going to say, but reservation holders will be the first to know. And I literally wrote back, groan.
Like, that's weird.
Yeah, I don't know what's up.
We get one to drive for the first time like in a couple weeks. We finally get around to it.
I was gonna pull. I've just been all over the map with what I want to get, and I just like honed in on a Lexus GX. I'm like, I got to get a because my family's been going skiing a lot, and I'm just like going to Big Bear, and it's awesome. I have the ability to call someone and be like, give me a rad 4x4 for the weekend, but I'm also like, I just buy my own. It's like I don't. So. And my wife's like, I don't want that car. It's lame. I don't want that car. I'm like, no, you don't understand what a great off-roader is. She's like, I don't want it. And we're skiing in Big Bear, and we're walking, and somebody had bought a Rivian, and it was just parked. And I just started taking pictures of it. And she's like, what's that? And I go, oh, that's that thing I drove cross country. She's like, it's awesome. I go, it's electric? And I go, look at this. And I'm showing her all the crazy features. She's like, I want that. And I go, all right.
Perfect. So I want a Seiko tuna.
I ordered the most nauseating color combo possible.
What color?
Yellow, black wheels with avocado green leather and green seatbelts.
Holy fuck.
Yeah.
Why?
I like the yellow, and the green interior is kind of... Pull it up. If
yellow with avocado green interior?
It's like a 70s kitchen. It's pretty good.
Fuck.
But I'm probably not going to get it.
Does Alana Shear have the matching Dodge Power Wagon for that?
You probably have to go to the configure. It's a nice yellow.
Is that the yellow right there?
That's the yellow, yeah. Pull up the yellow.
Oh, the yellow's not bad.
The yellow's good, yeah.
Okay, so the yellow's not like like Porsche Speed yellow.
No, it's like signal. And
it's a middle of the road yellow. Okay.
See the one with the person sitting on the those are the wheels I got.
Okay, those are
no,
good
no.
wheels.
I even got black. Mine are blacker. They're different wheels.
Well, yellow and black that's fine.
Yeah,
We're okay
and
with
then
that.
I think you have to go to the configurator to see the interior.
Avocado interior.
Oh, it's so good though. It's
Wow.
so good.
All right.
But I don't think I'm going to get it because for me, it makes zero sense to buy a car. Like just the way my life is set up with my business. Like
You got to lease it.
I got to lease.
Yeah.
And this thing weighs 7,000 some odd pounds.
Paint
Yeah,
yellow.
there you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Compass yellow.
Yeah, okay, so the wheels, I think it's that one there. It's
All
a 20-inch black. 20-inch?
20-inch all-terrain
Yeah,
dark.
that's it,
Okay.
yeah.
So far, so good.
Yeah.
So
Keep
far,
going.
so good. Next interior.
I did the off-road upgrade, but it's the third one. The third dot. Yeah, that one.
Avocado.
Yeah, baby.
Okay, it's more like a forest.
And
That's
then,
not as-
No, click to the next. See the arrows on either side of the image?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Green seatbelts.
That's aggressive.
Yeah, with the yellow.
That's aggressive with the yellow.
And I showed my wife, and she's like, buy it. So, so I have the order in. Now, they also said it's not going to be ready till 23.
Oh, well, so maybe by then they'll have
you
a
can
lease. They'll have a
Yeah.
lease thing going on.
Because it's like, even if
If you buy it, can you finance it through, quote, Rivian
you
Financial?
can finance it through Rivian, but it's like, it's like the best rate available based on my credit was like a 48 month, which is kind of long to be paying for a car. And, it's like...
Not in 2022.
a month?
2022.
Yeah, I don't know. It's 4 years.
In 2022, I think 60 is the fucking standard.
I have good credit and money. Like I
Oh
don't
no, I'm not saying. I'm just
You know what I
like
mean?
yeah, all right. But
I mean,
I don't think that's for a lease.
no,
of
no,
48,
it's like 84.
Yeah,
It's
for
horrible.
a lease, 48 months would be long, but for a
I would do-
finance,
I would-
48 months isn't that long.
I would do 72.
Holy
months.
fuck! The average is 72
Yeah,
now.
so I would try to do like a 2 or 3 year lease, but it just makes all the sense in the world. And again, it's over 6,000 pounds, so you can write off like all of it.
Yeah,
'cause
yeah.
It's technically farm equipment or whatever that horrible loophole is.
Whatever that awful
Yeah.
anti-environmental tax loophole is.
Hey man,
Yeah.
but again, 835 horsepower for like 80 grand is.
The straight pipes guys, excuse me, fucking party foul. The Throttle House guys. were here.
I'll take it for you. What's the difference? Go ahead.
They were here the other day, and I had my Mach-E, and they had the Rivian press truck.
Oh, yeah.
And we left and turned up Centinela, and I did the old.
Yeah.
You
Let's
know,
go. Yeah.
When it turns green,
Yeah.
bro,
Yeah.
they blasted the fuck out of here in that Rivian. That thing was out.
So we got...
It was real quick.
On the street tires, we got, I think, 60 miles an hour in 3 seconds. And on the off-road tires, 3.1.
Whoa.
So I'm going to have...
Let's talk about things that are completely unnecessary.
But it's got the McLaren diagonal hydraulically linked suspension.
Oh,
It's got
yeah.
air springs. It can do it. It actually, again, for a truck, it drives well. My wife, who's never wanted anything, I can't get her to buy anything. She's like, I want that, and I was
Yeah.
like, you know what?
If you listen,
I love it. I love this.
then
thing.
buy it.
I
Fucking
did.
buy it. You
I mean,
work hard. You deserve
I
it.
put the thing in, and
and I had a very funny Instagram feed the other day. You and Brad Beardo of 1552 Wheels, literally 2 posts immediately next to each other. Both posts were like, it's been 8 years. I think it's time to sell the Fiesta ST. It was you and then him, and it was literally the same, almost the same photo.
I can't tell you how many times I got tagged. Like,
2 in a row.
Yeah, and it's it's the third time it's come back from a major repair.
Yeah.
It has 42,000 miles on it. And it's like
Short shelf life, that car.
it's one of those like, okay, it's a great car, but I don't want to push it hard because I don't want it to break. Mm-hmm. So it's like, well, then what the fuck do I have it for?
Yeah.
Its only purpose is to
Dude, that
be
was the
pushed.
best car ever
In
to
2014.
lease
Yeah,
for
yeah.
2 years.
Oh, they give it away, yeah.
Fucking hammer the snot out of it and then dump it.
We leased
great.
it. We had a 3-year lease, and I got when my kid was born. I was like, the side impact on a Fiesta ST is like 2 stars. So
Yeah.
it's like you'll probably die, but if you do live, you're crippled for life. Is what 2 stars
It's
mean.
open casket.
Yeah. One is closed. That's right. So I was like, okay, I can't put the kid in the back of a 2. So
Yeah.
we got an all road. But then I was like, I don't want to get rid of this thing, so I just bought it out. It was so cheap, it didn't even matter. It was like, I think the buyout was like $11,000 or something.
There's still decent money.
Yeah,
like you can probably get some investment back on that thing.
I'm glad you brought this up. So okay, I am now Carvana and Vroom. They both, one will give me 14,100, one will give me 14,200.
Okay.
And then I was looking on what's it, Auto Tempest.
Yeah.
And there's 100,000 currently with more miles than mine selling for 19,000. I don't know if they're selling; they're for sale for that much. Yeah.
Asking.
And then
which says to me that if you put it at auction, you could get 16,000.
Cars and bids. Is this my play?
I would probably
call Doug.
I'd probably call Doug.
Okay, because I think that's what I want to do, and it would be good for Doug. Because
it's a known car.
Yeah,
and I think
mine's not in perfect shape. It needs paint.
Fine, but it's
a used
still,
Fiesta ST. It's never been vaped in, which is one of one.
Makes it unique.
Yeah, it's one of one.
Oh, here we go. Here's the recent cars and bids.
Yeah, it's never been an Uber.
We got some 11,000. Oh, so there's a 36,000 mile one sold for 17,700.
Yeah.
2015 with 38,000 miles, 18,700.
Yeah, so mine's a 14.
I think you can probably get,
but I have cool wheels and tires, and
I think you can probably get 16 and change.
Okay,
for yours.
So that's worth it because like Carvana, they'll be here in 10 minutes and just hand you a check.
For sure,
they're rad, and I'm also like, I got to now get the thing detailed. I got to get pictures taken, like all that. It's kind of like.
I mean, people.
I know. Yes, I can. It can happen overnight, but I still got to, again.
You still have to put in a little bit of effort.
It's like calling the PR guy when I just I'd rather have my own off-roader.
Yeah.
I know. And when I scratch it, I don't have to call the PR guy. So
you never know. Someone might hear this show and call you and offer you 15 and change. To take it now.
Yeah, or 19. Who knows? Or I put it at Barrett-Jackson and get 300 for it. I just want to see if Misha just texted back. Hang on.
Yeah, did he?
No,
did
you
didn't imagine
he didn't yet. Wait a second.
I understand though. The Fiesta ST was at the time was the jam, and it's still a very fun car. But
phenomenal.
But I didn't even at the time predict that it would be a 100,000 mile keeper.
Yeah, I never thought of it that way either. I just needed a little car, and it made sense, and I was having fun. And I had, how it goes, like, oh, I did that one tune, that was good, and then I know the guys at Mound Tune now, and I got the wheels, and the tires are good. I'm going to keep going crazy, and you did that to your car.
Yeah,
and kind of fucked it up.
We didn't fuck it up. I got rid of it before it got fucked up.
Yeah.
It was great until Thad was like, we need the Delrin bushings.
Yeah, that was where I drove it at some point where I was like.
Yeah, no, the Delrin bushings was a mistake.
That was a mistake. That was the bridge too far. Was the Delrin bushings. Yeah, so it's got to go. It's going to go at some point. But like I said, I was like, I could get 14,000 right now, and that's what's so great about these services. Like, I'm just done. I never have to do anything.
No, I've heard my general manager here.
Yeah,
he had a Raptor. Like a 17 Raptor, whatever the first year of the EcoBoost Raptor was, with like 50,000 miles on it. He was commuting back and forth.
I think it was 18, but
might have been 8, whatever it was. Whatever it was, he put into Carvana, 6 months ago, and they offered him every dollar he paid for that car, brand new.
Yep.
And he was like, sell, and they fucking showed up here, took that bitch.
I was talking to my buddy this morning. He's like, I had a Chevy Volt that was like, it was 39,000. I got 7,500 rebates over that, and he Carvanaed it or Vroom or one of them, $20,000. Got checked for $20,000.
Yeah, on
a car that had a lot of miles on it. It was like a 2017 Volt, and I'm like. I'm like, so what actually, because they say they come to your house with a check. He's like, they came to my house, they called me, I walked outside, they handed me a check, and they put the car on a flatbed and drove away.
Wow.
I'm like, that's a really good service.
It's a very appealing process.
Because like Mike Schaefer just sold his Vantage on Bring a Trailer. And, he went all out with the photos because he's a photographer.
Yeah.
And, but he had a guy who was like, I want to come look at the car. And like, I guess like on Bring a Trailer, if you... for whatever reason refused, then like people like, oh, he didn't let us see it. There must be something wrong with it. And the guy went like through every nut and bolt, and he's like, and I've seen the car. The car's like perfect. He's like, oh, it's like not quite 100 points. It's like and so it's probably sold for like a few thousand less than he got like I think 65 for it, which he's happy with. It's more than he paid. So, but like, it's just, I don't know. I don't want to have a guy come to my house and like sniff around anything.
Sure,
like,
I understand.
Who wants that?
We've sold a couple cars at auction for our customers. And we have a thing where for a flat fee, we will detail the car, photograph the car, store it during the auction, and then ship it out when it's done. You just leave us the fucking car and the title.
You do that for cars and bids? We'll
do it for any of them.
Okay, then I'll bring it down here.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's a flat fee.
I'll pay the fee.
And we do all of it.
I'll pay the fee.
It might not be worth it for a $15,000 car. But
then you'll give me a discount.
I'll give you a discount.
Okay, all right, done.
Yeah. But we've said very plainly and we've done it 3 times. We said vehicle is available for inspection 7 days a week at Westside Collector Car Storage. Come down. It's here. It's ready. We got a car. There's a car on Collecting Cars right now. 1970 Bronco. Very nice car. The guy's other car is a 911R. Like that's the level of
nice
Bronco
car.
that we're talking about. Yeah. 911R is not bad either.
That's what I'm saying. That's a nice car.
We say available for inspection. No one has ever come to inspect. Never.
I've just heard these horror stories where the guys come down and like there's like one thing they know to look for. And it doesn't make any difference, but it's like, that piece of metal, you'll never see the paint's off of it.
I've seen listings before where someone goes, I went to inspect this car and here's everything I found, and they write a very exhaustive report.
And it's like, who cares? Just buy the car. But people are, people are nuts.
It's a very interesting thing though, how comfortable folks seem to be, much more so than a year or 2 ago, with just seeing a car listed online and just fucking buying it.
Oh, it's crazy.
Tens of thousands or
hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
I mean, money is meaningless as far as I can tell. Like it's just become accepted that if you want a GT3, you're now just paying $100 over because that's what they cost. And it's like, boy, there's a lot of stuff at $300,000 that's like, you start to look at
that
like
stuff's $100 over too.
It could be, yeah. But like you start to look at like Lamborghinis and like, I don't know. It seems like it's a lot of money. I don't know.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. I don't recommend buying cars right now unless you can pay the price that is.
Well, so I want to lease my electric truck, which
I'm excited for your electric truck.
I'm excited too.
Cool.
But like I said, I don't think I'm gonna. If they come, because he's like, okay, now that you're in the system, I can like, what's the word I'm looking for? Speed it up. There's a word for it.
Expedite.
Expedite it. I can expedite it. That's the word. And I'm like, well, can I lease it?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, not yet. And he wouldn't tell me when. I'm like, well, if my number comes up, I'm going to say no because it makes no sense for me to buy it.
Yeah. Have you seen the Rivian like experience hub or whatever they've got in Venice?
No, I've heard about it.
It's like a non-dealer.
Yeah.
It's
like Tesla shop.
It's but it's like on Abercrombie.
It's a vegan one. Yeah. You could eat it. Yeah.
It's right across from Erewhon, which is the most expensive grocery store in the world.
Oh yeah.
And
I know the cars of the guy who owns Erewhon. Talk about 911Rs.
Really, that dude must be printing money because a strawberry is $17.
And he's
yeah. So here it's a space to gather, a place to come together, connect, and share ideas.
What ideas?
You're supposed to do everything.
Here's an idea. Here's an idea. Lease them. There's a fucking idea.
They have I was going to say they have a gardening class. I literally was invited to a gardening class at the Rivian Hub, which is, I was like, dude, like the guy was really nice. What's the gentleman's name? The guy's in charge of Shaheen. Yes,
Yeah.
He was very nice. Saw him at the
he's nice.
collecting
He won't
cars
tell
event.
you when they're going to lease them, but he's very nice.
But he was like, I said,
by the way, he's a legit car dude. He's great.
Oh yeah, no, he's fucking cool.
Yeah.
I met him in his last job, whatever that was.
Yeah.
But he's like, come to the hub and I'll show you the truck before you test it. And I go, okay, great. And he goes, and if you want to come beforehand, we've got a gardening class. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I do not want to come for gardening class.
I mean, Cadillac sort of tried to do this with their New York thing. Remember that? The book Cadillac or whatever it was?
The book Cadillac.
Flopped like you wouldn't believe things could flop.
Yeah.
Like they had to leave New York. It was so bad.
Yeah, but this one's on Abercrombie and the truck's electric.
It's like a WeWork.
Yes.
by Ford. If Ford sponsors WeWork,
WeRiv. Yeah.
I just, it's so funny because we did that.
It's a really nice building.
We did that Transamerica trail with them, and it was like MotorTrend had a truck and they had a truck, right? And so we're there are two cultures. Not that MotorTrend has a culture, but we're merging. We just work hard and write about cars. That's our culture. We have, it's like there's not much going on, and they were like, they're trying to explain the truck to like the locals in Mississippi. And like, you know, I could just see eyes glazing over, and I just walk up. I'm like, 835 horsepower, 908 pound-feet of torque, costs less than your Raptor. And the guy's just like, wait, how much? I'm like, 835. And he's like, I got to get one. And I'm like, look, and like, because it has the side floppies, you know, I'm like, you can put rifles in there. And they're just like, oh shit, you know, like
concealed carry.
And I'm like,
my truck has a concealed
and
carry.
they're going, they're like, don't say it. You know, we don't want to get into guns. I'm like, do you want to sell trucks to Americans? Like, you better get into guns now. Like, this is all that. And it was great because this one guy with a Raptor, we were in Arkansas, I think. And he's like, oh my God, because I showed him the side loading thing. And in the back of his Raptor, he had a thing that pulled down from the roof that had rifles and fishing poles in it.
Whoa.
And he's like, this takes up so much space. I hate it.
Yeah.
But I got to do it I got to have my rifles.
Cannot.
Yeah.
Cannot.
How could you drive a Raptor without a rifle? You know, I'm sorry, 3 rifles. And I'm like, yeah, you could build a little like thing. It pulls out. He's just like, this is great.
Yeah, Shaheen said he would get us the one with the kitchen in it, which I would really
the
like.
The kitchen's cool. We had
to
that. I jumped the truck with the kitchen in it, so it's good. The kitchen works.
The stove holds up.
It holds up fine.
Yeah. No, I want to drive up a mountain and make a fucking meal on top of it.
Yeah, we had Miguel Cortina. He helped make tacos, and it was bitching. You know, it was like it's an amazing vehicle, built-in air compressor.
See, that's good too.
Yeah, and like, what more do you want? You know, and you can tow. I think like 7,000 pounds. Like, not that I'm.
We
really
saw
gonna be
one
towing,
driving back from wherever the fuck we were, SEMA. Driving back from SEMA, we stopped to charge in Barstow, and we saw. I think it was the factory doing towing testing because it looked like it had a distributor plate on it, but it was towing a big enclosed trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, and we tested that for it won our truck of the year, and we tested the towing, and like it halves the range. But on a diesel, you half the range when you tow, so it's exactly the same as a gas truck. And so when the big battery one comes out, which is going to have over 400 miles of range, like you'll have 200 miles of towing.
Is that like 140 kilowatts or something like that?
I can't remember the number, but it's a $10,000 option to get another 100 plus miles of range. So we didn't do that, and they're not. That's not even going to be out. So if you order that, that's like well into 23.
To me, like 300 or like
it's
the high
314
twos are really the magic number. It's enough for every day, and beyond that, it's speed of charge.
Yeah,
it's where can I charge?
Right.
Are there enough places?
Right.
And once I'm there, can I charge at a high enough speed?
Right. Exactly.
And if you can use a 150 or up, is like really effective. I'm oversimplifying, but if they just put a bunch of 150s,
right,
that would solve a lot.
It would solve all the problems. Yeah. And I'm just like, can I? If it's fully charged from my house, can I get to Big Bear? And like probably no problem because it's like 100 and some miles away.
Yeah,
and then I can like coast down the hill.
Yeah,
and then
you'd
as
get
soon
a
as
bunch.
You're down there, there's chargers.
Yeah, you could probably go to Big Bear and back.
Yeah, I just I've talked to a couple of people about the cold and like I know Rivian's done a ton. Like Jamie Morrow, for instance, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but he does cold weather testing for Rivian, and he's like doesn't seem to be affected by cold.
He seems overqualified as a driver for that.
It's a paycheck.
Yeah, right. True.
But he was like, just going through 3 feet of snow, like no problem.
Yeah.
And not that you really need that in LA, but we've been in Big Bear where I think one night we got like 18 or 28 inches, and it would have been nice. We had a car that could do it, but I'm
we were
excited.
just in Steamboat and it was minus 15.
Yeah, that's nice.
Fucking cold.
I've been to Steamboat. It's never been that cold in Steamboat. I've been to Aruplag where it was like, one day it was minus 40. That was bonkers. But we were working in minus 25, and it was like. Freezing. We put the windows down for a second. We're like, fuck that. I was with Justin Bell. We're like drifting around, some frozen thing. And I'm like, let's lower the windows and put our hands out. It was like 2 seconds of like minus 25.
Was that like where below zero is or one of those deals?
It was AMG's Winter Driving Academy.
Oh, yeah. It's in Europe?
It's in Aruplag, Sweden.
Oh,
so it's
Sweden.
Like just south of the Arctic Circle. But one morning we got up and it was minus 40. And like, all the cars at minus 25, the metal was starting to freeze, except for the G-Wagon, which is 3 times as thick. And then that morning, the G-Wagon was frozen through. It was like, oh my God. It was cold.
Zach, let me see that letter. I got a letter. I got a very well-written letter from a fan mailed to the shop.
Okay.
His name is... What's his name? AJ. AJ wrote a very nice letter, very thoughtful, and I thought it would be a good topic of. I'm not going to read the whole letter. I'm going to extensively paraphrase.
Yeah.
But I thought it'd be a good topic of conversation. The bottom line of the letter was this: The question I have has to do with the attack happening on cars, specifically performance cars. He feels that cars today are designed with two things in mind: technology and emissions. And he basically feels like our car enthusiasts and their cars being unfairly targeted and being made worse when other industries are not being so targeted. And basically some examples include shipping, people who are constantly buying new electronics, new computers, clothing and shoes that are made overseas and shipped as fast as possible. There's people buying and flying around private jets, living in giant homes. And while admittedly there's some sort of whataboutism, like, okay, well, what about them and what about them? And so I try to not whataboutism as much as I can reasonably.
Right.
And while AJ says that he understands climate change is real, he understands we all need to make some sacrifices. He understands we don't need to go back and make engines like they did in the 60s. He would like to hear our thoughts on whether focusing on sports cars is really the answer.
Right.
Is there an attack on sports cars?
Yeah.
And would it be possibly more effective of a use of the world's time to focus on other things?
Yeah. So again, many things to say. One is, I could plug my new podcast where literally this is all we talk about. And I think the episode that went live with Sung Kang, this new podcast on MotorTrend, the InEVitable. It's awesome. But it's all about the future of the car, and cars that talk to each other, that drive themselves, that are, blah, blah. And we talked about that. But I would say that it's hard for me to take that his complaint seriously, because think about how many great freaking cars you've driven in the last 2 years. Like, cars are so much better than when we started back in 2005 or whatever. There was a couple good cars. There's like an embarrassment of wonderful cars. Like, cars keep getting better and better and better. So like, I think he's more sensitive to it, but I don't cars, like, I said this the other day, I'm like, if you have enough money, you can literally go buy as many T-Rexes as you can afford. There's no law in the universe that'll stop you from buying it. And that's going to be true until they stop making the T-Rex. You know what I mean? Like, that's they got to be the most polluting object one can own.
Yeah.
That's my long-termer, by the way. So, like, they're not really actually under attack.
Well, I think
now, and real quick, one more thing.
Yeah.
I don't want to whataboutism, but he's right about shipping. Like, if somebody could, like, get their arms around shipping, which is a global problem, you could reduce emissions by like 50% soon.
Sure.
There's no political will in the world to do that.
Yeah. The political will, I think, is in our country, we have a bad habit of having profit earning corporations with lots of lobbying power and lots of money causing big problems, and then selling individuals on changing their behavior for the solutions. Right.
We all have to do our part.
We all have to do our. We have to stop using plastic straws. We have to all buy an electric car. We have to not water our lawns. We have to, Meanwhile, giant industrial profit centers don't really have to change their behavior at all, and in fact are concentrating their power in many ways.
Yeah, many ways.
On the other hand, I think you're right. There are in some ways, cars have never been better.
In many ways, cars have never been better.
I think there are fewer choices in affordable sporty cars.
Affordable is getting tough.
Yeah.
But I don't think I would blame emissions on that. I would blame just the market being drawn toward crossovers.
Ford dropped all their fun small stuff. GM never really had any, they got rid of it. But like this year alone, like the BRZ and the GR86 came out, bitching.
Yeah.
You can still get a Miata, still get a GTI, a Hyundai Veloster Turbo or N are great. There still are some. It's not like it's over with.
If you went and looked at a MotorTrend or a Road and Tracker Car and Driver sport compact car comparison from the 90s.
Oh God, it's
almost everything that would be in that
Yeah.
is now gone.
Yeah,
You know?
but again, like I just drove the Civic Si. Like
That's very good.
wow, that's a great car.
That's a very good
great
car.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So and it's 25,000. WRX just came out.
Yeah.
you know it's probably going to be 26,000 to start. And again, though, like, you know, I did a thing at the Peterson. I was up on a panel and we were talking, and there was like a guy wearing a Shelby jacket, you know, and he's like, man, like
Shocked. Let me tell you how shocked I am.
They're gonna take our cars, and I'm like, and ACP was there, and I'm like, hey, ACP, what'd you drive here tonight? He's like, a Model T. And I'm like, sir, they're never taking your car.
Yeah.
I'm like, the Sandy Hook, 20 6-year-olds were shot in the fucking face, and
Yeah.
gun sales are more than ever. In this
Yeah.
country, they'll never take anything away.
Yeah.
It's just boogeymen, scare tactics, fear, and you know, it's all that is to sell more shit.
Yeah.
Like, so... Like, yes, all cars are going electric, but guess what? I mean, you know, if like the shit I've driven recently, like the Lucid and the Rivian are any example, like, oh my God, I can't wait. You know,
yeah,
like,
I mean,
these are so good.
I
you know?
I hope that they find ways to make sporty electric cars as fun as the best sporty gas cars. Because right now, I don't think they are.
The weight's a problem.
Yeah.
But if you look at like trucks, just, you know, apples to apples. TRX, 702 horsepower, 7,000 pounds, 6,800. Rivian, 835 horsepower, 7,200 pounds, and it's smaller. It drives 100 times better.
Yeah.
You know, so with pickup trucks at least, you know, and again, I know it's not a sporty small thing, but like they've already done it. One company's already done it, and the others haven't even really got going yet.
Yeah.
Yes, I'd love to see like a hot hatch electric. See what that would be like.
Yeah.
Battery weight's got to come down. But the other thing too, he should realize is, you know, like car makers aren't going electric because they're like, you know what, we hate fun. They're like, oh, we could build these cheaper and charge as much or more.
Sure.
They don't care about, you know, they're like, oh, we're going to be carbon neutral. No, it's like
they don't care.
Once a kilowatt per an hour of battery gets below $100, it's cheaper to build an EV than to build a gasoline powered car all in. It's just cheaper to do it. So like, you know, if there's a market for sporty cars and everything's an EV, they'll build them.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reason we don't see a lot of two-door, what you might call just personal coupes, right? They're not necessarily sports. The reason we don't see many naturally aspirated engines anymore is because we have this EPA test, and cars have to do well or better on that test. Now, when you're at a racetrack, power's power, and those cars that seem more efficient on paper are not actually much more efficient. But in this test, which is what we've got,
right,
and then we could update the test. That would be nice, but be more of a real world.
It's better
test.
than Europe's test.
But it's better than Europe's test.
Yeah.
Totally true. There's part of it is market forces. You know, people want crossovers for regular cars instead of
everybody. Every American who has a baby thinks they need an Escalade.
Oh my God!
You know, I need it. You know, and I'm like, you know, we have an Alpha sedan. It's like it's kind of big for just one kid. You know, it's like we could get away with something smaller.
Yeah, I mean, everyone I know who's had a child
they think they
gotten
need
some
an SUV.
3-row SUV.
And then you always get, well, what if my parents come to town? I'm like, take 2 cars.
Right.
Whoa. Like, you know, like
so much purchasing is done on the what if. Like, what if I have to move a couch? It's like rent a U-Haul pickup truck on that day.
Yeah. Or what if I have to go on a road trip? Like rent a car. It'll be, you know, like you can totally have an EV. I don't know. Yeah. But I do feel he's right that cars are an easy whipping boy for, like, you know, you haul all the executives in front of Congress and you know, and look, they're not perfect people by any means, the CEOs and all that. But like, yeah, no one ever gets the shipbuilders, and they're like, you're burning bunker oil.
Yeah.
You couldn't do anything worse for
the dirtiest possible fuel. Yeah.
Or like the U.S. Navy, you're the largest gross polluter on the planet.
Yeah.
Like you literally strip all the paint off the ships and dump it in the water every year.
Yeah.
Like,
Or they
maybe
dump
don't
jet
do
they
that.
dump jet fuel before practice flights.
Yeah, sure.
Were you with me when I talked to that pilot?
No, but I've
my
heard about
God.
that kind of stuff.
I mean,
Oh,
they would go on all these practice flights. Okay, fine. You need to fly for practice. Okay. But then they would just dump all their extra fuel into the atmosphere. Like, oh my God,
Yeah.
what? But I
the military
appreciate
is a gross polluter.
your letter, AJ, but I think it's a little more. I think you're right that, and like Johnny said, it's easy. Sports car enthusiasts are an easy thing to point fingers at.
Sure.
But the restrictions or the seemingly restricted choices of what you might call the older school, more analog cars, a lot of it is market forces. People, the general public just doesn't really want to buy stick shifts anymore.
They don't, and they barely want to buy two doors. Like everyone's like, oh my God, Bronco two door. It's like Jeep's had a two door for 70 years.
Yeah.
And they can't sell them anymore because they made a four door.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like,
oh, here we go. What Zach just had the distribution of carbon.
Yeah, I was
dioxide?
just curious. So I found two different sources. Just I don't know if these are how legit they are, all that stuff. But this is Our World in Data, and so. According to them, 45% of global CO2, not all emissions, is due to road passenger travel, which is cars, motorcycles, buses, taxis.
Yeah.
hang on
Shipping
real quick.
is
That's
12%.
CO2 emissions from transport. That doesn't count manufacturing and all the
Right,
other.
correct.
Right,
yeah,
right,
this is
yeah.
just coming out of
Okay.
a tailpipe. And then this other, Statista.com, had a similar number, 41% for passenger cars, 11% for shipping.
Of the transportation, right?
Hang on though. That's just CO2. That's not like the shit that comes out of burning bunker oil, like
Right.
the NOx and the cancer causing.
Oh, right, fair, yeah.
yeah. But no, we do. But that's what's great. When cars go EV, that CO2 number will plummet.
Right, totally.
Right.
It'll super plummet.
Right,
Because it's
right,
just
right.
even if you're burning coal, you're actually burning less coal than you are gasoline to move the car the same distance.
Right,
But
yeah.
but that's what no one get. You can make it green. Like California, our energy is really green. You can if you have again the political will, you can do that.
Yeah.
So there's hope to get better. Whereas with gasoline, it's done. It's like you have to burn gasoline to move the car.
Yeah.
That's how it
Yeah.
works. And there's no way you can make it a little more efficient, but at the end of the day, you're still burning gasoline.
Right.
Like I feel like we've had a decrease in the variety of engine types. Like you said, Matt, everything's going turbocharged. So we're losing the small V6s and the inline
Yeah.
6s and all the
Yeah,
kind of interesting
superchargers
stuff. So
are
that he might be
gone
bummed
and-
that that's going away, but. The cars are faster and have more torque because turbos, and now we have this whole new chapter and the new experience of driving electric vehicles, which, like you said, does feel different and has its own really nice benefits.
Yeah, and again, like if the Rivian's any indication, like oh my God, what's coming is so good. you
Well,
know?
I've enjoyed, most electric vehicles I've driven.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed the experience in general.
In general, yeah.
Yeah. And some of them are even fun in sporty settings.
Did you drive that Porsche they had? The
Mission R thing?
Yeah,
I haven't yet.
Yeah,
I'd
didn't
like
drive
to
it either.
try it, but-
I heard it was great.
I mean, I'm sure it's fucking. If you took a Taycan Turbo and powertrain and
Yeah.
shove in a tiny car, it probably goes like a motherfucker.
Yeah.
Is
So-
it something that I want to spend my money on right now? Like, no, it's not.
Well, I want to drive it. I have no idea.
I'd like to, hey, Frank, let's have a go. Get it over here.
Yeah.
Habibi, let's go. But thank you for your letter, AJ. We've got a bunch of questions from our Patreon.
Indeed.
Yes.
We have so many that it's almost impossible we'll get
It's
through
just
all of
6
them.
pages of questions.
It's a lot.
Speed round.
It is a lot.
I was going to see if Misha texted. Keep talking. I'm listening.
Of course, if you want to get in on the questions, you must be a patron. Patreon.com/The Smoking Tire Podcast. Get in on the game. Let's just start at the top. Hunter Sands, what are your thoughts on Porsche Motorsport NA building Singer engines? Is this one step towards Porsche taking ownership in the company? I think it's a recognition that if you can't beat them, join them.
Yeah,
on both sides.
And
by the way.
they're just assembling the engines. It's still Singer's design and parts and all that. They're the guys screwing them together.
Yeah.
And Singer moved. They're down near they're in Torrance now.
Well, they're not done with their facility yet, but they will be moving.
they'll be moving. Sorry.
The thing here's what I didn't know that I learned about this. You couldn't get an engine, assembled by Porsche Motorsport unless you owned a Porsche race car.
That's right. That's right.
So that's the big deal. Is
Right.
that this deal with Singer is the first time that you can get them to build an engine that's without having an actual Porsche
and
race
they build
car.
them. You've been there. They build them at the Experience Center in the mechanic shop.
Yeah, and it's actually, I also learned that it's the optional engine.
Yeah.
So you'll still be able to get the Ed Pink, engine as the sort of.
I think they're just doing 5 right now. Because I was down there, they're assembling one. They're like, yeah, we're contracted for 5 for this year or something like that.
Yeah, it's.
Singer builds 20 cars a year.
Yeah,
so
I talked to them and it was. I believe it's a $40,000 option. They are. And they're ending production of their regular NA car. They have a new car coming out.
Right.
It's a little different. So they're offering it, but you can't really get it. It's optional, and by the way, they're all sold.
It sounds. I've heard this song somewhere before.
Yeah. But
it was cool. It was cool to see like they had a 908 engine on a rack next to a Singer engine, and the same guy was kind of going back and forth. And
I mean, that's where that value comes from, right? As an owner, you're like, it was built by the people.
Yeah. I mean, again, but they were again. I don't want to say too much, but the Porsche guys were stressing that it's their design.
Right. They're really.
This is their engine. We're just putting it together.
They're really hedging.
He's just like, this is Singer's engine. We're just assembling it.
Yeah,
they're very.
I'm sure there's a lot of edges they have to dance on both sides.
Yeah. But it's cool. I don't think Porsche's going to buy Singer. My conspiracy theory is that Andy Prunger, he wants to live in California. So I think when
he needs an excuse to come visit.
When he's forced to retire at age 60, like you are in Germany, he'll just take over as like head of Singer or something. That's my conspircy theory that I made up.
That's not so far-fetched.
He wants to get a Camaro and a TRX and listen to Iron Maiden and.
I think I would join in on that conspiracy theory. That's not a wild conspiracy theory to me.
Yeah.
Bobby Reed or Red. Do you think the manufacturer-dealer business model is obsolete? If so, what should replace it?
I mean, I don't know about obsolete, but it's entrenched, meaning like you're gonna have to fight all the money on the earth to change it.
Yeah,
like it's. It's gross that they can charge $100,000 over and all that, but like, how do you make it? You're not going to make it go away.
And also, even if you did change it, right? Like, what's the difference? What Tesla has taken deposits for so many cars they haven't fucking built yet. How many people paid them full price for a Founders Edition Roadster? Like, that would never happen with dealers. It just doesn't happen.
Right.
And Tesla changes the price of their cars all the time.
Willy-nilly.
Yeah.
Willy-nilly.
So,
and, they also do like what Tucker got in trouble for, which is like, we're going to sell you the full self-driving now, and as soon as we're done with it, we'll give it to you. It's like, it's been 5 years.
Yeah. So I mean, it seems like, okay, dealers are bad because they charge ADM and blah blah blah, but like dealers also for a long time and for certain cars would sell you cars at under. Like invoice. Like, no one was bitching when that was going the other way.
And here's the other thing too: the people paying over sticker for the most part, like they don't care. It's not a big deal.
Yeah,
it's annoying that like. Misha was telling me his friend was trying to buy a base Civic, and like everyone in LA was charging over sticker for a Civic,
that sucks,
which is a car that they're going to sell 100 million Civics next week. Like
we were talking to Doug DeMuro about the ADM on a RAV4 Prime, and it's like, come on,
people pay it though.
Yeah,
people like RAV4 Prime. That's the part that gets me.
I know. Matt Cheseldine wants a 914 project update. Is there any?
There's no update. The COVID has hurt small independent shops.
Yeah. Dan B, favorite inexpensive brands for automatic or mechanical watches. Is there any value in going from a basic Seiko to a Lux?
Well, I mean, Seiko's a great example of a brand. I
love fucking Seiko.
I slept on them way too long. It's
huge
crazy.
aficionado of the
Orient
Seiko.
is another one.
Same company.
Yeah, but they're Seiko bottom, but they're unique designs. They're kind of cheaper than Seiko's, but they're automatics. They don't wind. You have to like kickstart them, but they're cool. I have an Orient that I really dig, and I still think Casios and G-Shocks are a killer value and killer stuff.
I mean, even those basic Timex like GMTs and are really, really nice pieces for what you're paying for them. We're a huge fan of Weiss watches, but like
so where do you draw the line? Like, is it because I got that Doxa I think mine was like 24, but there's a updated version that's like only like 19. Like, is that cheap or is that expensive? Some people that's a fortune. I don't know where you draw the line.
Yeah, I would. I don't think that's cheap. I mean, I think that's like
because a Weiss is like $2,000.
They're
or
about
something.
2,500. Yeah, but
okay. Those are
I don't
so
call
nice
them cheap,
too. Those
and
are so nice.
and that's a manufacturer movement that is made by a guy.
Yeah,
and so that's
who used to be here, now in Tennessee.
You get a lot for your money with one of those.
They're
in
really
terms of
cool.
watchmaking.
I really like those.
But there's a lot of brands where, to me, you're not getting a ton. Like, there's great value in stuff like Nomos and Young Hans, the Bauhaus kind of stuff. There's good value.
Nomoses are really cool.
Nomoses are great.
Yeah.
If in the $2,000 range, Nomoses are really nice pieces. But there's a ton of brands selling stuff between $500 and $1,500 that's really a $500 piece with $1,000 of branding,
or a $200 piece with
or less. Yeah. So
there's a lot, and then the other thing I'm starting to get into, but I'm not quite there yet. But there's all those like killer Swiss independent brands. I found this one. They're called Habring 2.
Oh yeah,
and
Habring 2 is cool.
Oh my God, they're the best. And the guy like developed all these movements for IWC, and him and his wife started their own company.
Habring 2 makes some very cool
I like.
stuff.
There's this thing called the Doppel Felix. It's a Rattrapante, double split.
I have no idea what they cost.
10, like 9,800.
Okay, yeah, so not cheap.
Yeah, so there's the Felix and there's one, the Doppel Felix. But I think they're cool. They look kind of like Glashuti.
Yeah.
And they're Austrian.
If I saw someone wearing one, I'd be like, "Oh, that is cool."
Yeah.
The Foudroyante Felix.
I don't speak whatever that is. I don't know where it is. It's Doppel.
The perpetual Doppel.
Maybe if you go to Felix, it's in the Felix collection.
Sub Felix.
Yeah, and then
go down. Is there more?
Is there a Doppel?
No Doppel Felix.
I don't know. All right. Anyways, it's rad.
Cool.
It's a split. And I was looking at it, and Doppel 3. Look at this.
I mean,
and so
Oris is worth. They're $1,500 to $2,500, and Oris makes a great piece. That does look great. The Doppel Felix.
Yeah, there's one though without the 20 or the date around the outs because it has a date hand too. It's a little busy.
Oh, there you go. That one did. Yeah.
Yeah, and so
pointer date. That one's got no date. That's a good one.
Yeah, so I dig that, and you can you pick your color, and I don't know.
The blue. The blue is good.
It's cool, and it's almost like a bullhead. It's I think they're super cool. And
Those are
again,
cool.
It's a guy and his wife. Like that's rad.
Those are cool. Yeah.
And so is that a bargain? It's like it's $10,000, but it's like it's a real double split, which is if that was F. Pijorn, that's $100,000 watch.
Even if it was like a Panerai or an Omega or something, it would be 12 to 15.
Yeah.
So
and so.
They're cool.
There's a lot. There's so much.
If you wore that to a watch nerd meetup, you'd get mad respect.
I wore my my Doxa to a watch nerd meetup, and I was the king of the party.
That's the king.
There was
That's
literally guys in APs and Long and Song. They're like, "Oh, I've always wanted one."
That's
and
a cool piece.
I'm like, you could buy the company. Just trade your watch for Doxa.
Those are very cool too.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay. Given Ali Danishvar. Given the room for improvements to EV batteries and charging, why do so many startups or newborn companies, including Lucid and Rivian, believe they can compete with giant brands in R&D and manufacturing resources and non-powertrain components and their reliability in the long term?
Well, because they can. It's like I think Lucid's actually, proven that their technology is better than everyone else's on the planet. They have a car that can, and I did it. I drove the fucking thing. It can go 500 miles. Like no one's close. And they have a 75-pound motor that makes 670 horsepower. The Tesla Plaid motor is 300 pounds and makes less, so it's just their technology is better.
I think EV is new to everyone. And so it levels the playing field of development. Now, manufacturing, that may be a different story, but you can still hire legacy brand insiders to build your factory.
The guy that built the Tesla factory was from Mercedes. The one in Fremont. Rivian. If you look at Rivian's board, it's all ex big swinging dick dudes from Detroit.
Yeah,
and they know, and they bought the Mitsubishi Chrysler factory in Normal, Illinois. And I was talking to my friend of mine who's a board member, and he's like, "Yeah, we were so shocked. Like, we got it super cheap because it's just been sitting abandoned since whenever Mitsubishi and Chrysler divorced. We opened it up. Like, he's like, the screwdrivers were still there. The work shoes were still. We had to buy nothing.
Oh,
we could literally turn on the power and get to work. The stamping presses were all there. They just shut the doors and locked it.
Well, plus, like a giant company that's already established, like Ford or something, they have a way of doing things. And if they wanted to change, it's a much bigger ship to change.
It's
so
crazy.
You get these executives that come from an established company, and now they're more nimble. They go, "Oh, here's what I've always wanted to do."
Yeah. And also, there's still like some of these companies are still using suppliers.
Oh, they're all using suppliers.
They're all using suppliers, right?
Yeah.
So when he asks about the reliability and dependability of non-powertrain components,
right?
Like Bosch is making shit for everybody.
Yeah.
You know, like Denso is making shit for everybody.
And not only that, I was saying Jamie was doing winter testing. Like when we were on the Rivian trip, they were like, "Oh yeah, we were hanging out with the Lucid guys in Minnesota doing winter testing, and we were with so and so in Namibia doing the hot weather testing." And like they're developed the same way cars are. These processes work. And by the way, like one of the chief engineers at Rivian was a Bosch guy for 10 years.
Yeah.
Pete, the Australian, he knows how to develop these parts.
Yeah. So. Wyatt B. Johnny, why is the fastest, latest, most expensive car from any given maker always the best one ever? Don't you think they're a bit too crazy, fast, and numb now?
I know. I mean, look, I just drove the STO.
That's not numb.
That's not numb. It's awesome, and it's great. It's the new GT3. I'm in love with it. Black Series. If you're on the Nürburgring, that's a great car.
The Black Series is tough every day. It's not the one I'd want.
It's not a street car.
Yeah, it's a real track day
It's
thing.
a real track because we had it at streets and man, if you're at 30 miles an hour, it just doesn't work. If you're at 130, it's like, oh my God, it's so glued down.
I drove it for 1,200 miles.
You're crazy.
It was rough. It was rough.
It's a little.
Yeah.
I was on a conference call with Tobias the other day, and we were talking about the Black Series for a second. I'm like, it's really designed to go around the Nürburgring. He's like, yeah, nothing else. Yeah. That's it. That's what it does. I don't think it's lazy. I think there's a lot of real engineering, like that STO, and you've driven every work on in Performante. Like, man, to get from the Performante, which I think is great, to the STO level is that's a lot of work. Like there's nothing lazy. And the fact that it's rear-wheel drive and it handles better than the all-wheel drive one, and not just from a steering feel point of perspective, it actually turns better than the all-wheel drive one, and grips better, and it's remarkable. So no, I think the opposite. I think I'm glad that cars are getting better.
Okay, fair.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I don't necessarily agree with you but I agree with you. You can measure this stuff, right?
Yeah.
If I don't think, I think the sharp steering of new cars in general I like. I don't necessarily miss hydraulic steering in most cases.
Yeah, and because it's finally the E-Pass has caught up and is pretty much there.
Yeah. However, in the case of the new GT3, I like the old one a little better because it's smaller. And because it's a little...
It's not... It's an inch shorter.
In width. The width is the big difference.
Yeah, a little bit.
It feels it to me.
Yeah.
And so it's a little more civil on the street. But
it's interesting, though. So Misha, he has that Touring, 1.2 GT3 Touring. So we took that and the new GT3 up Angeles Crest. And it was funny because... beforehand, he's like, well, I'm going to keep mine because it's just the same thing. It's just a little different. And then we got down and we're like... It's a totally different car. It's gone from a great sports car to a supercar. And I'm like, yeah, your car feels like a couch, compared to that.
But the differences to me aren't enough that I care.
Right. I didn't think I did until I drove him back to, but we just switched off and it was holy shit. Just following him, and Misha's about as good a driver as I am, and every time he's turning, he's scrubbing the brakes and nope, don't have to touch the brakes at all on this one. Just front grips. And it was just faster everywhere, and it was I liked it better. Same transmission. Transmission's the same. That was interesting. Engine's a little better in the new one, not much, but a little bit. So it was. I was impressed doing that, and actually you can go. Whoever asked that question, you can go to the Porsche Experience Center, and they have 991.2s and 992s, and you can pay whatever and drive them both back to back and figure it out.
The Ferrari is another example. I don't necessarily think that the F8 is substantially better than the 458 Speciale, which is about as good as that chassis got. Yeah, pretty much.
Good point. Ferrari's a great example. Like, I actually think the Roma is the best product they're making right now, and because it's not like skeezed out of its mind trying to be a Lamborghini. It's a kind of this like elegant luxury high speed that and it actually handles good.
It does.
Enough.
It drives good.
Yeah,
it drives nice.
So yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
But in general, most of the time, I do think the new versions of sports cars are better. Most of the time.
Look at like the Civic Si, which like I was never that big on the previous one. This new one, I'm like, I could have this every day.
The new one's rad.
It's really good,
nice.
right? It's really good.
Yeah.
Or even the BRZ. The new BRZ is like way better.
That's very good.
Yeah.
That's very good. Corey G wants you to rip Spike's soundboard, and the best thing about being on the podcast is you don't hear the soundboard because we're not wearing headphones.
I was leaving Good Vibes this morning, and this guy's like, "Can I give you some friendly advice?" And I'm like, "Yes." He's like, when Spike plays that intro music, it's just way too loud. And I'm like, you think Spike's gonna listen to a fucking thing I have to say about anything? Like, come on. Like, come on, dude.
Yeah, I've never heard the intro song. Never need to.
Yeah.
Joe Leonard, how are the EV exclusive magazines and website articles doing compared to traditional stories? Are you getting a new audience? Are the numbers the same?
That's a great one. We actually, so on the InEVitable podcast, we talked about that. And Ed had a great point because he was like, up until like this year, you could do any EV story and crickets, except for Tesla. If you did a Tesla story, this year our two biggest stories were Lucid First Drive and the Rivian thing. Mm-hmm. So he's like, finally the dam is burst and people on a wide scale are interested in those. Now, like a Taycan, Audi e-tron GT still isn't registering with like people that read Wired or whatever. Mm-hmm. But like Lucid and Rivian are very hot. People are very interested.
Startup culture.
It could be the stock buyers. Yeah.
Skip this one because it's tired.
Jason quit.
Daniel says, what changed at Aston Martin? Obviously, they're trying to make money. 5 years ago, they were making some of the best-looking, best-driving cars out there.
Disagree.
Today, they're hard. I would disagree. Today, they're hard to define and have lost much of what made them great. I mean, they were the best-looking for in 2009.
But they had nothing else going for them.
Yeah.
I mean, they did nothing. I mean, you remember those automated manual transmissions?
Yeah.
I mean,
I owned one. I had it ripped out.
Yeah, yeah. You remember?
Manual in.
Good point. Good point. No, I first of all, like the DBS Superleggera, like find a better looking car. Like, go ahead, find one.
They are good looking, and the DBS drives pretty good.
Yeah. And I drove
the V8 is not as good as the AMG GT, but
have you driven the F1 edition?
Yes,
it
was better,
pretty good,
but still not as good as the AMG GT.
It's not a 911, not as good as the AMG, but it's there. But like, they have that new DBX 707, which is murderous, apparently, like 697 horsepower. An Urus is 641. Like, it's baller.
I didn't need a faster crossover, but thank you.
I mean, I love the Urus. You know what? I get asked this. For some reason, like, really wealthy guys get my number and call me for SUV, only SUV advice, nothing else. Just like, I really want to buy, I've had 15 Cayennes in a row, I'm like, and I keep finding myself, I'm like, honestly, the Urus is the best one. Like, but if you get it in gray, it's not crazy looking. They're like,
I objectively like the Urus.
Yeah.
I don't like how they look.
I do,
and I kind of side eye them when I see them. Other people driving them around. I found them nice to drive.
So Sang got a new GT3, and he was parked on the street, and we were looking at it at lunch today. Sang Yun, and a yellow Urus drove by.
Yellow is not good,
and I'm like, Sang, you got to get it, and he's like, never get it. I'm like, it's so you.
Yellow is not good on the Urus.
Yeah, I had the Verde Manta, whatever that screaming green is.
Yeah.
I had the best trip experience in that. I went to that hypercar invitational thing, because they were like, Lambo was like, we'll give you a car. Do you want a Huracan or an Urus? And I'm like,
to drive to fucking
to
Laguna,
Monterey,
you want an Urus.
And we just finished Best Driver's Car where we had a Huracan, which was like, and I was like, I had an Urus, but then I did 10 laps on Laguna and I had a fucking blast. It was like, what a great
I
car.
lapped an Urus as well, and it was shocking how good it was.
It's so good.
Yeah, it's really fast.
So
it's like a luxury rally car.
So anyways, back to Aston. And by the way, Valkyrie, I know it's ridiculous and $100 billion, but name a cooler looking car in history.
It's pretty crazy.
And then there's a Spider version. It's nuts. And the Spider one even looks better. And then that Valhalla, the Vanquish that's coming, which is going to be, it's basically the AMG Black Series powertrain in the Valhalla without hybrid.
Yeah. It's going to be pretty crazy.
Who doesn't want that?
Yeah.
So I think Aston's in a better place than they've ever been, really.
It's really just the Vantage that doesn't drive that great.
And they're aware. They know. And that's why they did the F1 edition. That was Tobias's first thing. He's fix it,
Yeah.
And it's pretty good.
I feel like that's his 1994 348 Ferrari. He
Yeah.
came in and he was like, we need to fix this.
We need to fix this
And I
right
think if
now.
they fix some of the design stuff, they'll be in a really good spot. So hopefully he can help that happen.
But I even think with that new grille on the V8, I think it's very good looking.
The grill, it helps.
Yeah, and because I like the hips on that car are exquisite.
The hips are good.
It's in isolation, it's fine. But if you've driven an AMG GTC, it's just
you and me are the only humans on earth that ever say anything nice about the GT.
The GTC is awesome.
That's what somebody said. They're like GTS or GTC. I'm like GTC.
GTC.
They're like
100%.
not GT3 or GTC. I'm like honestly probably GTC.
Most of the time, GTC.
I mean, yeah, it's pretty fucking. But no one else even knows that car exists. I think it's the convertible. Why do you like the convertible?
GTC
so much?
is very, very good.
I know. It's,
2 questions about whiskey that I don't give a fuck about, but I really have to pee. I'm gonna go pee. You go ahead and take my show.
All right.
Answer those questions.
This is the smoking tire. Mr. Lieberman, what are your thoughts on the Rye Project Volume 1 collaboration with Wolves Whiskey and Willet? I just got a bottle and love it, but I would love to hear your opinion. Stay dope, everyone. Well, I have a bottle. It's nearly gone because it's so delicious. If I brought this stuff in called Charbet, you would just leave the room vomiting. You would hate it so much because it's whiskey made out of beer, like finished beer. They take beer and they just distill it. So it has hops in it and everything. My favorite bottle is Charbet 3, which tastes like blueberries and Roach Motel spray. Or ant killer, but it's delicious. It's great. It's like the smell of gasoline or taste it. Anyways, so they've and that's what Wolves, they usually have there's some whiskey blended with Charbet, and it's okay. But then they did this collab with Willet, which is just off the chart phenomenal. And it's I think it's 103 proof, and then they have a barrel strength version coming next. And I had a party. Party. I had 3 friends over, but it was like a party. In COVID times, that's a party.
Yeah.
And my bottle's almost gone. It's fantastic. So I think it's great, and we will stay dope. Next question. Johnny, do you have a whiskey white whale you are chasing? Yes, I have several. They're mostly all Willets, but Red Hook Rye. There's a liquor store in New York that they took this amazing bottle of Stitzelweller Rye that Willet got a hold of, and they called it Red Hook Rye. And I've had a drop of it. I think it's selling for $30,000 a bottle now.
Oh my God.
And it's so good. And then there's a bunch of Willets from that era. They're all Stitzelweller juice. They're all insane, 17 to 23 years old, and they're absolutely fantastic. And back in the day when they were $1,500 a bottle, I thought that was crazy. Now they're all $10,000 a bottle, and I'm kicking myself because So
remember when Ferrari F40s were 1.2 million forever, and now they're 2.5 all of a sudden?
I remember when 288 GTOs were 400,000.
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, 4 million.
Yeah.
Josh Berman, I'm looking at an E39 M5 as a replacement for my Audi RS3. Interesting. Are there specific gears from the E39 that are preferable or problematic? The post facelift.
Well, they're all problematic from my understanding.
Yeah, but the last, there's 4 years. The last 2 years have some updates that people tend to prefer.
Yeah. But it's going to feel real slow compared to your RS3.
It will, but they'll be very nice to drive.
I would just say this too: a Kia Stinger GT. If you kind of weight to power to torque and everything, it's kind of identical in size and wheelbase to an E39 M5.
And it has the softness in the roll. Yeah.
It's kind of shocking. And also, I told you this: a 2-motor Mach-E has the exact same performance of an E39 M5 driven at like 9/10. They're identical.
Yeah.
Going down a hill. So
all right. Sean Gallagher, if you had a route to yourself as a personal racetrack for a one-time run, which two cities would the route connect and what car would you want to use? Example, Saint-Tropez to Nice in a 550 Spider.
I mean, yeah, I like that. I'll take that.
Yeah, sounds pretty good.
You can't be. I mean, 550. I did the melee and it was on a Gullwing, and one of the cars, very few cars could keep up, but one that could was the 550 Spiders, and I followed this guy for like, I don't know, 90 miles at 110 miles an hour, and just I have this image burned into my head of like a 550 Spider rolling through Tuscany, you know, and sun going down, and like, that he is the best answer.
Yeah,
Couldn't be it.
I think like some city in northern Germany all the way to over the mountains into Italy. In pretty much anything, but like, I don't know, 430 would be good.
Across
GTS.
the Swiss Alps in a manual 430 Spider would be pretty excellent. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Pick your high mount, your high pass in Switzerland.
I did a high pass in an R8. It was a dual clutch R8, but V10, and it was
delightful.
That was a very good drive.
Just a full lap of Switzerland.
Yeah, we were in Austria, which looks the same, but it was that
Which
was
country
nice.
has more money?
Oh, Switzerland. they make 1 million Rolexes a year.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Right?
In the
I
finance
think that's
industry.
the correct number.
Yeah,
$1 million a year.
Switzerland in a manual Ferrari that still has some power. F40.
Me and Harley did a 570S on the sport suspension in through Switzerland. We actually went to Liechtenstein. It was pretty weird, but that was a nice drive.
Yeah.
That was like proper grand touring. That was good.
Pierce Gaillot, best underhanded GT bomber, highway bomber that the USA didn't get. RS6 Avant with the big twin turbo V10.
Yeah. Oh, the V10.
The twin turbo
V10. Yeah. That's pretty good. Oh, I mean, there's so many, like all those British Sierras with the Lotus Tune, this and that, and the Cosworth and the Blue Blops. I don't know. I always think what we're really robbed on, because we tend to get most of the cars, but we're really robbed on like good hot hatches.
Yeah,
we don't have good hot hatch culture. Like,
we also don't get like the M diesels. Remember, Europe got those, the big body like diesel BMWs.
I don't know if
and
I
shit.
want to. I never drove an M diesel, but I
we
drove
never got the Q7 V12.
I drove
TDI.
that.
Yeah,
and, like I love the Touareg V10. Like that was bitching, but I don't know. I just
the V12 didn't do it
for me. But it could have been a bad day.
Josh Jones, best manual car to learn on under 10K. I mean, one that works.
Yeah,
just one that works.
If you can find a really damaged Viper for a 10K, I think Vipers are the best manuals to learn on because that engine doesn't stop spinning. You can't stall it.
Yeah, I mean, just
once it's in motion, it's a perpetual
find a Civic
motion
or
machine.
a Corolla or something. I mean, just, like anything, preferably with a tack, because at under 10K you might find a car with literally no tack.
The other thing about learning stick is people make it such a big deal. Like, just get a car and drive it. And you know what you're going to do? You're going to stall it a few times. And then after you get honked at 4 times, you'll stop stalling it.
Yeah.
And then you just drive it. Like, it's so not a big deal to learn.
Yeah.
People psych themselves. I've seen it happen so many times. And I'm just like, relax.
My wife has psyched herself out of it. I gave her the parking lot lesson.
Yeah.
We then drove. She drove us to like dinner. Didn't stall at all.
Right.
Totally fine. Like no problems. And then she just didn't want to keep practicing after that.
How did you learn to drive stick?
My dad taught me.
But like, do you remember the how it went down or?
Yeah, I mean, I think I stalled a couple of times and then it was fine. We were in the SUNY Purchase parking lot.
Okay.
And SUNY Purchase had a nice big ring road around the campus and then a bunch of different parking lots. And we would drive from parking lot to parking lot. And, that was kind of it. I didn't have a huge problem with it. And I stalled a few times.
But you probably thought about driving a stick a lot before you actually drove a stick.
Yeah,
Is that fair to say?
Yeah, but my dad, I knew I wanted to know.
Right.
But my dad didn't really know how to teach me.
Yeah.
Like my dad taught me that I had to upshift at 3,000 RPM like it was a rule.
Oh, funny.
Like it was a law.
Right.
And so until I turned like yeah. 16, 17 or something,
That's
or
what you
18.
thought. Yeah.
Like I would, like when I first got like my Mustang, like I would upshift at 3,000 RPM, and I'd be like, this thing is not
so
like
slow.
driving right because
yeah.
we had put a cam in it.
Yeah.
And so, I went to my friend Jimmy's dad, who was the head mechanic who did the work on the car. And
His name was also Jimmy, probably.
Yeah.
Of course.
It was senior and junior.
Yeah, continue.
Yeah,
Jimmy
very,
Jr.
very, very good.
Yeah.
And yep. And I was like, I said, what would happen was it would hang revs, right?
Yeah.
Because I was loading this fucking thing up and not like revving it.
Right.
And so he was like, well, let me drive it. And so I went out with him, and he's shifting this thing at like
Redline.
$4,000, $5,000, whatever was appropriate. And then I was like, aren't you shifting it too high? He's like, no, this is how you drive. And I was like, oh, my dad told me I need to upshift at 3,000 RPM. He's like, your dad's stupid, son.
That's awesome.
And so, yeah, that was a lesson.
My dad, when I was 12, we had a Nissan Stanza wagon.
Oh, yeah.
That he used to use. He had a print shop, and it was just to haul shit around. And he took me to a hill, and he put me at the bottom of the hill, and he walked up the hill, and he's like, come on up. Because we were throwing it away, basically.
Yeah.
And I just destroyed that thing. But eventually, I learned how to, like, balance throttle and clutch and just got up the hill. Mm-hmm. And he always, his dad taught him to drive when he was like 12, and he just was a big believer, like the younger you learn, the safer you'll be. So a couple times a year, he'd just let me drive, whatever.
Yeah.
And I was this height when I was 11, so it didn't look that weird.
Yeah.
And I would just drive around the neighborhood. We lived in a sleepy little town. It was no big deal.
What was really helpful, my dad's lesson, that was helpful. But beyond that, my neighbor, Alex, there was 3 kids in the family, and they had kind of it wasn't, you don't call it an au pair, but I guess it was really like his parents' personal assistant. And they kept this old Acura Legend V6 coupe manual.
Oh, wow.
That they had had since new.
Gorgeous
they
car.
Had like
Yeah.
180,000 miles on
Yeah.
it. And I did appreciate it at the time, how dope it was. It was dope.
Yeah.
And they kept it around for her to drive.
Got it.
And eventually but basically they had no problem with any of, there was like these were the cool parents. They would let us drink at their house. They didn't care if we smoked weed at the house.
Right.
They were the cool parents.
I knew a family like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, and they happened to be my neighbors, which was excellent.
Yeah.
So the keys were always there,
Mm-hmm.
and any of Alex's friends could take that car when the fuck ever.
Right.
So I must have put 2,000 miles in this car, and that was what I actually practiced on. That car eventually was wrecked out, and the mother had a Saab 900 turbo convertible. Like a 93.
Right.
Also stick. She would only buy stick cars.
Right.
And the kids in that family, their parents would buy them a brand new car for their 16th birthday, but it had to be manual.
Yeah. No, that's good.
So they all had fucking cool cars. A 325i BMW, a 9.3 Vigan, and the Lexus IS 300 manual.
Yeah, but the Vigan.
The Vigan was cool.
So how'd you learn?
The driver's ed, you could sign up for it.
Okay.
And I remember very vividly driving like a manual Corolla. On Friday night, I had the driver lesson scheduled, and the guy who was the instructor just smelled like a casino that had been open for 50 years, like just cigarettes coming out of his eyes.
Oh, yeah.
And
real quick, my driving instructor that you paid for a private one, he took me on a drug deal. Like I ran into him. I was buying drugs 2 years later, and I'm like, "Weren't you my driving teacher?" He's like, "Yeah." Like, remember we went downtown? Like, I was picking up drugs.
holy shit! Were you guys both buying drugs at the same time?
No. I wasn't. When I was 15, I wasn't. I
No, when you were
was
17, did you guys bump into each other at the
No, I was
dealer's
buying
house?
drugs from him, and I'm
Oh
like,
my
"Weren't you
God.
my driving instructor?"
He's like, "Yeah, I moved up.
Yeah.
now I'm selling."
Yeah, sorry.
So I
Yeah.
stalled the car Friday night downtown Santa Cruz. He took me down there, and I stalled it in front of other high schoolers and was terrified. But then all the cars I drove, owned, whatever, borrowed from my parents were manuals for, through college. I mean, basically, I didn't own a manual car, an automatic until I got the Crown Vic.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
So it was funny because I learned how to drive a stick, but I never had one for a long time. And then what got me really good was driving to work every day.
Yeah.
You just, it's,
You have to.
it's
You have
3
to
days.
just make
and-
yourself do it.
Yeah.
But
But the guy was a drug, like he, so I grew up in Thousand Oaks, you know where that is?
Yeah.
And we went to downtown LA. And I'm like, this is a lot of
far.
freeway experience. And then we stopped. I was so stupid. I didn't know anything.
Fucking crack house?
No, we stopped like by the Jabberjaw, like, a really shitty part of downtown. He's like, I'll be back in 10 minutes. And he came back and he had like a bag or something. And I was 15.
Yeah,
I didn't know anything. You know,
That's hilarious.
Why would my Thousand Oaks driving instructor, and then we went back. And 2 years later, I remember I was buying pop behind this coffee shop in Agoura. And I'm like, dude, I know you. Like, and I'm like, you're my driving teacher.
That's
he's like,
so funny.
And I'm like, when we went downtown, he's like, yeah, I was getting some drugs. I'm like, that's awesome.
Anthony wants to know where I get a good quality watch band over 200 millimeter. Bosphorus leather.
Yeah.
That's my guys in Turkey.
I will also
They'll make
say
you
the
one.
one you hooked me up with, under the cuff.
The under the cuff guys.
Those
they're
are
cool.
super quality.
Yeah, they're nice. If you want a NATO.
Yeah.
If you want leather or canvas,
the Bosphorus is
guys
killer.
is cool.
You gave me one of those, but
Yeah.
I'm telling. I have on my my other Seiko. I have this killer, that 2-piece NATO.
Yeah, the 2-piece NATO is what's up.
Oh my god.
Those are the
yeah.
jam.
Yeah. Super legit.
I don't know what that is.
They made a they made a denim
They
sneaker.
made a denim Air Jordan. Who wears it best, Leno or Christian Hand? Christian Hand. Leno doesn't wear interesting shoes. He wears boots. His shoes look like he's from the 30s. Like he wears like old school boots like that. Like he's like ready to go to the members meeting at Goodwood. Johnny, favorite West Coast regional whiskey?
No, Kentucky.
Yeah.
Kentucky makes the best bourbon.
True.
Yeah. And
True that.
Tennessee has some good. Indiana, which is on top of Kentucky.
Yes. How can Fez? How much can summer tire choice affect feel from the driver's seat? Wondering if I would get more enjoyment out of my E90 M3 if I switched from Firestone Summies to Michelin's.
Wow.
It's incremental, but
I'm glad to hear Summies, but I mean, PS4s are really
just
hard
announced
to top.
the PS5.
Oh, did they?
They just announced it.
All right, now
It's
they're topping them.
It's coming out. The PS5 is coming out.
I mean, I don't even remember where the Fiesta ST came on, but I put PS4s on it, and it was such an upgrade.
Yeah.
It was such a massive upgrade.
Yeah.
But I also went from 17 to 18 and 235 to 245, but still, it was like a massive upgrade.
I have gone size for size, and it does make a big difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Do you remember? It was like maybe the first time we hung out, maybe it was the second, but we went to that Continental thing out at the Speedway.
Yeah. There was like an autocross and shit.
And they had like Continentals on the car, and they had like Michelins and Goodyears. We were there for Continental, and the Michelins.
no,
and
you know
Goodyears,
what it was? BFG Sport Comp 2.
No. It was I think it was the
Continental?
Conti. They were like, oh yeah, we built in understeer, and like they were worse than the competitor tires, and we're like, yeah, they totally understeered, like on purpose.
Yeah.
We're like, we were like the wrong audience.
Yeah, that wasn't right.
that was fat guy karting.
This is Matt from Under the Cuff.
Hey.
Has any manufacturer ever refused to lend you a
Absolutely.
car?
Yeah. Constantly.
Yeah. They don't usually say no. They just don't respond. They make themselves unavailable.
Back in the day, I remember I had a Mercedes. This is way before MotorTrend. This was like 2007, and I said something bad about it, and I went to get another one, and like this guy I'd never heard of before named Jeff Day got on the email chain, and he's like, "You're never getting another car from us ever again. Fuck you." And I was like, "What? He's like, "You said our car's inefficient. You're an idiot." Or whatever
hilarious.
I said. Yeah, it was really funny.
Yeah, I've never been refused outright, but I've been conveniently ignored.
I've been refused. We used to get in like fights with Ferrari. We'd like go to the mat with Ferrari, and they would just be like, "No," you know.
Yeah.
So
Most
I've
of the
had
time, it's a lot like Tinder, where you swipe right and you just don't.
You just
there's
don't
no
hear
match.
anything again.
Yeah.
That's me and Ford right now. Yeah. It's like, why won't you text me back? That's
Yeah.
so weird. Oh, because I keep slamming the Bronco. Okay.
That was us for a while too.
David Zumat, seeing S54 clown shoes and 1Ms going for double MSRP on Bring a Trailer. Are there any cars from 2015 and up that will have that kind of praise appreciation?
Yeah. Civic Type R's will be
Probably.
crazy money.
Yeah, Hellcat manuals.
M2 CS will be nutso. They already are nutso.
I mean, but like...
You know, by the way, M2 CS, the few that are unsold, you know what the ADM is? 40.
That's a lot. I'll tell you what, that isn't a $160,000 car. It's
No,
not.
I mean, it's close, but it's not that. Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, those that happens.
ZL1s.
No, ZL1
I think
1LEs
Camaro,
maybe.
not even that. I think just a ZL1, people will finally realize, like, damn, this thing's rad.
They're
350Rs, GT350Rs.
they're already over sticker.
Yeah.
I think it's got to be an experience like where the industry moves on, where you can't get that anymore, new. That's when that happens.
Right.
So
Right.
manual transmission stuff.
Let me ask you though, has the 991.1 with the NA motor, have they gone crazy? Mm-mm. So that's probably one.
Maybe eventually.
Those are like 2015, no turbo. Although the turbo, I hate saying it, but the turbo engine's so much better.
It is.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. It actually, in Carreras and stuff, it is better.
It really is better, yeah.
Kevin says, ask Lieberman what elevates the GV70 over the SQ5.
Yeah, the SQ5 is a fine carpool lane kind of, commuting to work vehicle that's pretty sporty. GV70s, have you driven that yet? It's fucking madness. It's one of the best driving. It's an SUV, but it's like up there with like Stelvio, like the good Stelvios, like that kind of shit. It is insane.
Have to ask for one.
You know how for 5 years Hyundai, Kia, Genesis, they've been like, yes, we've hired everybody from BMW M, and you're like, and what are you doing with them? It's like they were working on this car.
Okay,
that's what it is. It is just so good to drive.
Okay,
yeah.
Carlos R, daily driver, 2 kids and a wife, Stinger GT used S4 or something else.
Yeah, Stinger GT can't go wrong.
They're nice.
I think as a former Audi owner, I don't think you want a used Audi.
I don't think you want a used Audi either.
I was right at 35,000 miles, and it was when you turn on a car, you're like, oh shit! Like I got moments before every one of these lights just starts popping off, and like that dual clutch is like not happy just driving around town in first gear.
Really?
Yeah, it was. Nothing broke, but that feeling where it's like
if it doesn't feel at 35,000 miles, if it doesn't feel the way it did at 15, that's bad. That's
and it was my wife drove it. She drives fast, but she never doesn't any handling. She just goes fast in a straight line. But Stinger GT is totally slept on. Especially if you don't need all-wheel drive. Like, what a great car. If you have to get all-wheel drive, it's okay.
Yeah. Is this the last one?
Yes.
All right. Dante Casali, as cars age past what most people would accept for a daily driver, will enthusiasts switch to desiring a more special occasion coupe body style over practical wagon or sedan? Example, will people pay the cost premium for the CTSV wagon when it's 30 years old?
That's a very philosophical question.
It is. I think that part of that has to do with rarity. I don't,
There's 1,480 CTSV wagons ever, and only 400 something are manuals. So.
Yeah. So that's purely, they didn't sell that many.
Right.
It also depends how the wagon looks versus.
Yeah. I think that's an interesting example because I think that CTSV coupe was killer looking. Mm-hmm. It was a unique design.
I hated the back.
I liked
Continue.
it.
It's fine.
I like it in the V. I didn't like the standard one, but I liked it in the V. And I think
the regular
wagons,
coupe was weird. The V was better.
Yeah, I think the wagon's very good looking.
I think
the
it's the
sedan
best
was kind of
looking
plain.
Yeah.
So of course they sold the most of those. I don't know. I mean, I don't know cars age past when people except for a daily driver.
I think it's whatever hooks people, man. Like I know a guy that still wants a CTSV wagon. He has 5 cars. Like he doesn't need a sedan or a wagon. He just wants a fun thing, and he just digs it.
To me, anecdotally, people who are paying a premium for a CTSV wagon are not doing so because they need a wagon.
They have a dog. Yeah,
it's not. That's not happening. I think it's unique. It's got a look and attitude. It's known to be rare, known to be collectible.
I cornered. I can't remember his name. One of the not Dave Leone, but one of the other V program dudes, and I'm like, why does the wagon drive better than the sedan? And I really feel it does. He's like, oh, it does. He's like, because we released the sedan and then we had a year to work on the wagon. And the wagon and the coupe came out at the same time. He's like, so we just fixed everything in the rear end we didn't like.
Oh.
And I'm like, I knew it. He's like,
yeah.
And I'm like, and you never market that? We're not going to market that. We're still selling the other one that doesn't drive so good.
Wow,
but it's like Dodge does that with the Challenger and the Charger. It's like the Charger actually drives better for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
They're not going to ever tell you that. But, they're not going to cry if a journalist reports that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting question, but I think that in that example, it doesn't really take into account rarity, and like you said, the fact that people think, I guess, people who've driven both think the wagon drives better.
Yeah.
I never drove them back to back, so it was like over a year in between the two.
So I went. They had this weird, not weird, but it was a cool program. It was like right before the third gen came out, last hurrah of the second gen CTSV, and they had wagons, coupes, and sedans, mostly all automatics, and we were at Coda, which manual would have been better, but they were worried. Journalists, manuals, tracks, blowing shit up. And then Johnny O'Connell was there, and he had his race car, it was the ATS VR, which is, and he was giving you hot laps, and he's a maniac, and it was awesome. It was cool to drive them all back to back, but it was like very obvious to everybody that the sedan just kind of not as good as the coupe and the wagon. And we're like, we know the wagon weighs 150 pounds more, yet it hooks up better in the rear. And they were like, this one guy was like, yeah, well, we had a year to work on it.
That makes sense.
I would also say, not to be mean to Cadillac, but like, man, that car at 30 years old, like, boy, that interior is gonna.
It may not age so good.
It may not be around in 30 years.
Blackwing though.
Yeah. So you drove it?
The 5.
Yeah.
We have the 4 in 2 weeks.
Oh, you'll love the 4 is like very impressive. The 5 is better. Like don't let anyone. Well, it's 150 pounds lighter, therefore it's fuck that. But the 4 is really good.
Harris had the 4 while he was here, and he was very impressed.
It's super impressive.
Yeah, he was very impressed.
It's a better street car than a track car. It has. I think the 4 actually has the best brakes of any production car, followed by the 5.
The 5 was like, we drove the 5, and then the next day drove the fucking Maserati MC20.
Yeah.
And we're like, why does that fat Cadillac sedan have like way better brakes than this supercar?
Way better brakes.
Yeah.
The guy who developed the brakes showed up at Good Vibes.
Oh, really?
And Misha was like, which one should I, Misha's on this perennial line, new daily, yeah. And I was like, man, the 5 has the second best brakes in the world. The 4, which I think are the same brakes and it weighs less, are better. And this guy's like, yeah, I developed those. And I'm like, dude, he's like, they were too good. We actually had to make them worse because the tires were just spinning around on the rims, and it's insane.
Yeah, those brakes are very, very good.
It's insane. Yeah. That Blackwing is like,
that's the shit.
It is really. But what are they asking over for those?
I don't think anything.
Oh,
I think
no. Misha was calling around. I was like, 50. It's horrible.
Really?
And the Cadillac dealers are like, we need it. We never sell any cars. We need it.
That's worse.
Yeah, they're desperate.
Well. Well, I guess.
I'm glad you liked it. I loved it.
I thought it was excellent.
Yeah, it's shockingly good. It's like, one of our guys, we were streets. I don't know if you've ever done this. We were running streets backwards, which is.
I have done it. It's cool.
It's way better.
Yeah, it's cool.
Because you don't have to like. The kink is very cool, but it's also like you could fuck up.
All someone has to do is knock the cone over, and you can't fucking see it.
And like we're doing 50 laps, and it's like 7 guys doing 50 laps. Like if you run it the right way, odds of somebody doing something stupid are way high. So I'm like, let's run it backwards, which is killer because you get 2 good straights. And but one of our drivers who's slower than I am, he was in the STO, and so I was following him in the Blackwing, and it was a great little battle because I was like getting him in the corners and then on the straights, he'd walk away because. It's an STO. But like that Cadillac is legit. Did you have the manual or the auto?
Manual. It was fabulous. Great shifter, great clutch.
Yeah.
Great feedback.
Yeah. No, it's
excellent car.
I want to try. I just want to see what the automatic's like because I drove the ZL1 with the 10-speed. And it's actually really good for like a car that can do burnouts. It's like it's not a bad transmission.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought the manual was killer. We had the 4 automatic.
I think they're sending us the manual.
Yeah. It's the 8-speed auto. It's a weak point. The powertrain in the 4 is a weak point, but the handling is like shockingly good.
So it's like the ATS-V.
Yeah, but up to a little bit. It is noticeably better. And again, the brakes are like, because we were on track. Each car did 50 laps, and it was like, the poor Subaru and the Toyota and the Hyundai, like forget about it. They had 5 laps in them, and then the brakes were cooked. And then the Cadillac was like stronger than ever. And
Wait a minute.
We're hitting
Subaru. Did you have a blue manual WRX?
No, we didn't have WRX.
Okay.
In fact, on the track we only had the Toyota. We didn't have.
Okay. Because we had the WRX press car, and it felt like the brakes had been boiled at least once.
Was it dark blue?
Yes.
Oh, that was the one I drove. I think there's only one.
We thought
dark
that
blue
might have
one.
been the case.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah.
It's been.
That was one of those funny. I'm sure you've done this too because I know how you drive. It was like on the launch, we're going to a location, and I got there like 15 minutes before the rest of anyone else showed up.
I have done that.
Yeah.
It felt like the brakes the fluid had been boiled.
Yeah, that could have been me. I mean, there was a wave after me, so I don't.
It could have been a variety of people,
yes,
but
I won't take all the credit. But they only had one dark blue.
I suspected Lieberman.
Yes. What did you think of the WRX?
It delivers on what it offers.
Yeah,
I didn't think it was mind-blowing, but it delivers on what it offers.
Yeah, I mean, the STI is coming. That'll have the power. But I thought it was like screaming for more power. It's just like, please tune me. Please tune me.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, and apparently that's what that new engine is. It's more tune-friendly.
Yeah, and it's bigger displacement, so it can put out more.
And there's less boost, so it should be a little overbuilt and understressed.
Yeah.
And so the aftermarket will change that.
Did you do any freeway time in it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was loud.
But smooth. I was shocked because
I didn't think it was that great.
Hannah said it was bouncy in the
Hannah
back.
said it was
we
bouncy
drove it
in
on
the
the
back.
On the 10 West to whatever it's called.
Because I mean, I've had a couple WRXs and I'm familiar with the last one, but I was just shocked, like on the freeway, like at 75 or whatever we were going. I'm like, this is a W.
Well, the engine's super smooth. Like the NVH of the Boxer, and so we have the GTI right now, and getting in that. It sounded louder and more Boxer-like than the WRX did. So they've taken a ton of that out of the WRX.
They sort of missed on this generation of GTI.
They sure did.
The GTI has some very big question marks.
Yeah,
some
what's
real
going on?
big question
What's going
marks.
on there? It's like Piek died and like...
That's there's very, very big question marks on this.
Have you
fucking
driven
thing.
the Golf R?
No, we get it next week or 2 weeks.
I drove it 6 months ago, and I didn't. They had some problems too.
It's kind of slightly worse than the GTI. I just remember the last Golf R. I'm like, I could have that car. I would totally
Mark
be
7
happy.
Golf R ripped.
Yeah, I was like, I would be so happy in this car. Like what? Because it's like stealth. It's fast. It's fun. And this one's like,
Well, we'll let you know in a couple weeks. But,
but the GTI is sort of.
There's just big question marks.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Volkswagen in general with their nav. Like, what are they?
It's not
Right,
good.
bad.
It's not
Yeah.
good over
Just
there.
because like they got like Audi, that works great.
The new S3 I
Porsche?
loved.
I'm getting that in March.
I had the new S3. I did 1,200 miles in 4 days, and I thought it was great.
No, that's interesting because they're very similar. You know, it's the same platform.
Yeah. The platform is not my issue with the GTI. The S3 was like it. Granted, it was $57,000. It had the nice Napa leather.
That's what
every
S3
convenience.
is. If you ever priced out an RS3 or an S3, I mean, they're a fortune.
But it felt like a small Audi, not a dressed up Volkswagen.
Well, that's good because I felt
I've
I've only driven the last gen, which I definitely thought was like. It's a Volkswagen with an Audi badge for $50,000. It's crazy.
No,
So
this
it's good
one
to hear.
felt like an Audi to me.
Oh, awesome.
It was nice.
Yeah.
And like it had I could move the front seat so far back that I couldn't touch the pedals anymore.
Yeah. Wow.
It had a
okay.
ton of room.
That's
the front
crazy.
seat was like really comfortable.
Well, Germans are tall.
Yeah.
What about, have you touched the RS3? I know the press cars aren't here.
They're not here yet.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I'm excited about that because Scott
too.
Evans drove it and he's like, it is insane.
Yeah.
You know?
We just spent 3 days with him in Colorado.
Oh,
doing
nice.
the Bridgestone thing.
Nice.
Yeah, it was good.
He's a good dude.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's our show, folks.
That's our show.
That's the show. I'm glad I stuck to my only one shot. I feel like I can go do cardio without being a real problem
You'll be
right
fine.
now. Of course I will.
You'll be fine.
And we're going to film the GTI on Monday. I've got the new the BMW M240 downstairs that I'm driving home.
Weird looking, but
weird
okay.
looking.
But
I haven't even so much as sat in it yet. It dropped off this morning.
I haven't
But
either.
Robert, my assistant manager, said it goes like a motherfucker. He just
sure
had a
it
quick
does.
spin in it.
BMW makes great engines. I mean,
Just by looking at it, I would not kick my E46 M3 out of bed for it, though. That's for sure.
is it purple?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Are the brakes fucking boiled on this one too?
Are they?
No.
I haven't driven it. No. That's their launch color.
Yeah.
And it's like I like purple, but it just there's a lot of like the trapezoidal or the
Purple and
hexagonal
black
grill.
is not a good color combination.
Yeah.
Yes. But
even on a Lambo,
it is what it is.
Yeah.
I actually do look forward to driving it. A lot of people have asked me about it, and the last M235 and M240. People ask me about those cars all the fucking time.
They're great. We had a stripper. I think it was a 240, but it was a manual with didn't have an option. We were like, it was. You know, like we normally don't get press cars or even American German luxury brands they sell in America is the way to phrase that. We never get like the rental thing you'd get in your, like I once got a Volvo XC90 that was so shitty inside.
As a rental?
As a rental in Frankfurt.
When I rented one in Europe too, it was like, wow, they make them this garbage?
Yeah, we had a Jaguar once where like it didn't even have a push button. Like you actually had a key. But it was like it was the F-Type.
F-Type with a key?
Not the F-Type, the F-Pace.
F-Pace,
But you know what I mean? I didn't know they had keys.
Yeah.
Like, we were in England and like, here's your key, because they make like a cheap rental
2-liter
one.
diesel shitty one.
Yeah, but so we had that in this 240 with a manual, and it ripped. We had it at Big Willow, and we were just fucking going crazy in it all day. Like,
It's been a very long time. We once got a 911 Turbo S that had 0 options on it.
that's bizarre.
Frank was very proud of it.
That's like the car and driver car.
It had cloth manual seats. It was 190. It was under 200 grand. That was what he said.
Impossible.
It's the only way you can get a Turbo S under 200 grand. It was totally base.
I remember. You remember when Torque was doing PR for Porsche? So like every time they give a car to car and driver, a Porsche, they're just like, it's so expensive. They were just like, they'd lose their minds. So he built them like a Cayman S with no options. I think it had carbon brakes or something. No, it didn't have that. It had yellow calipers, but didn't. I'm saying that. Anyways, it was like the cheapest Cayman S. It was like 67. Which
for a Cayman S was cheap.
It's cheap. They're 75 to start. And like they complained about how expensive it was, and Nick's like, I'm never doing anything for them again. Fuck them. Can't make them happy. Because we were like, we're in LA. Like, everyone's got money.
Some options, whatever.
Yeah.
No, the only time I've ever complained is when McLaren gave me a car with no air conditioning because you assholes were going to put it on a scale. Who the fuck is spending $440,000 on a car and doesn't want air conditioning?
I mean, they're nuts. We got a McLaren impounded one time. That's a whole other story. But one of the many reasons, besides the kid going 105 in a 35 school zone, was McLaren, when they gave it to us, they took all the paperwork out to lighten it. They literally took the registration out.
No manual.
No, the fucking yellow registration sheet. They took the damage report sheet. They took it out. And so this poor kid didn't have his license on him.
No paperwork.
Going 110.
Oh, God, that sucks.
And it was so great because he calls me and he's like, Johnny, sir, he's like, Johnny, this officer, he wants to impound the car, and I'm like, all right, let me talk to him. And I get on the phone. The cop's like, I don't care what you have to say. I'm impounding this car. And he hands it back, and the poor kid's like, sir, you're being an asshole, sir. And I'm like, oh. And that's when I had to call JP. I'm like, I've never made this call before, but your car's impounded by LAPD.
We laugh about it now.
No,
that's awesome.
Yeah, $400,000. It was a 675 LT.
Oh, is it the green one?
It was the green one.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, with no air conditioning.
Oh, yeah,
same car.
Right.
Yeah,
right,
same car.
Yeah. Well, we got it impounded. So beat that.
I just sweat a lot in it. Fucking had no air conditioning.
We had
not as much as that kid sweat.
Not as much as the kid, right?
We had a Z28. Remember how a Z28 was an option for no air, and they gave it to us in like July. And we, Frank Marcus drove it up to up the Central Valley.
Yeah,
it was like, I fucking hate this car. Throw it out of the competition. Fuck
dude, the
this
one
thing.
they gave us for Drive on NBC Sports had no air conditioning.
It was a red one
and no radio.
Was it? Yeah.
It
was silver, but we drove it from Detroit to New York.
From Detroit to Watkins Glen in July. It was miserable.
Yes, if you've never been on the East Coast in July,
it was incredible on the track and miserable in every other way.
Yeah, I mean, you know what I found out too? All those cars were fucking cheaters. That whole batch of press cars.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
In what way?
Power and camber. They had this
the turn-in.
They had this wackadoodle camber that was like. I met a guy who used to work for Chevy. He's like, yeah, you give that thing best driver's car. Like, it was chipped a little and it had this. It's like
perfect.
If you're not cheating, you're not trying.
That rules. Yeah. All right, folks, that's our show.
Good.
Happy Friday, and we'll see you next week. The InEVitable.
Yeah, you're going to be a guest, by the way.
All right, sure.
Because you are sensible about EVs and you own one, and so we have different we had sung on this week, from Fast and Furious, just talking about will EVs ever be collectible?
Ask Baker.
Yeah. But I want to have you on as a well-known tire killer. who is like, yeah, it's a great daily driver, but it's a fun show. It's going well. So
Excellent.
yeah.
Glad to hear it.
Yeah.
All right.
It's
Happy Seiko Tuna Day, everybody.
Yes.